Hey everyone, welcome back to the Smokin' Studios for another live episode of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. And we are actually going to continue on with our news media in crisis or cigar media news in crisis article with Coop. And I got Daniel Lance on the show. As everybody knows, we've got our good friend of the show, Brandon Wells. Brandon, you have been here more than anybody this year. I've got you 3 or 4 times this year already.
Yeah. Is that a good thing?
I'm liking it. I keep inviting you back. I mean,
you're not losing people.
Yeah, I edit you out, but it's going to be hard because now you're next to me. Before you were sitting over in front of my freezer.
I was behind the corner over there. And I was tucked in the corner like a dunce.
Right. You know what though? I do got to say you gave me a very valuable piece of advice in the studio. Because you were like, wow, this is really nice, but it would be awesome to have a little TV in front of me.
Yeah.
And then the next time you came back, you had a TV in front of you. So.
And it was fantastic.
Really, really happy to have you back on, Brandon.
Thank you.
Real quick, before we bring on Daniel, you are out traveling. What are some of your next events coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Oof. I was actually trying to look at my schedule for that, and I have no idea. I know I've got family stuff coming up, and really for the rest of the year, I'm pretty well done with the events for the rest of the year.
No December, Christmas, anything?
Nope, not really, man. So I've got stuff booked out next year, and for the rest of this year, I'm kind of laying low, just gonna do my job, get out, say hi to people, and I have Drew on the team now. So Drew's doing a lot of stuff in Arizona. Here in Colorado's getting to the slower season, so Drew's gonna handle a lot of the events in Arizona.
Well, dude, I don't think you've slept on this trip apparently, and you're about to pull an overnighter for like a 3 a.m. flight or something like that. Like, more power to. This is what it takes, people, to bring the greatest cigars to your stores. Is a man like this willing to put in and devote that time?
It's fun. who needs sleep when you have caffeine and cigars, man? You know what I mean?
So that's how you've been losing all the weight.
Yeah, man, caffeine and cigars.
It's the cigar industry speedball.
That's all it is, bro. I'm telling you, man. That's what keeps the world spinning around,
Well, we're going to go ahead and bring in a friend of Brandon. My first time meeting Daniel. I actually learned of Daniel at watching, I think it was Coop's coverage of the PCA this year. So Daniel, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Discuss all this.
Yes, and I wanted to start by defining some terms first, but just for everyone to understand, there was an article put out like 2 weeks ago. We all know it from Coop. One of the only, if not the only, actual thoughtful, non-complaining, non-bitching responses that was put out about the article was Daniel's, and it was done from the perspective of purely the manufacturer's take on it. It wasn't like, we don't want to give you guys stuff. You guys need to do more. You need to do this. It was why certain things, in his opinion, was accurate or not. Would you say it's a fair statement?
Well, I mean, it's if you think it's fair. I told you before the show it was entirely incidental that came out right. So
I don't believe that for a second.
No, I appreciate your review of it. I think it is an important topic because one of the points that I made in my commentary on this was about that you don't have to go buy a camera and set up a lounge as you have and work with manufacturers, and we're not always the easiest to work with, and a lot of times we have different prerogatives for how we want to work with different creators and things of that nature, and that can understandably be really frustrating. Mm-hmm. So I think I think really all I was aiming at doing with my commentary about the situation was providing a other end of the spectrum type of outlook on these things. So appreciate you having us on to talk about all this.
Oh yeah, and it just happened to. I usually don't do themed shows, so it's kind of fun when I actually get to bring somebody out with a specific topic. And I thought Brandon being here also provided a lot because Brandon ran a podcast. I consider Brandon to be part of the media in many aspects, or has been throughout his years officially and in and out of that media door throughout your years in the industry. So I thought it would be a great take from his side as the broker, being that part of the issue was giving the information to not just media, quote unquote, news or hard news people, but to also the shops. And my guess is Brandon would be part of that relay of information to the shops as well. So I felt it would be kind of nice to take that, to get that side of it too. So before we dive into it,
I thought I was just coming on to talk about me.
that's next time.
Oh, okay, good.
That's next
Okay.
We'll do your own Brandon show, Brandon
Perfect.
takeover. Right. So what I want to do, and we'll start with this with Brandon. I want to define what media is, and when I say it like that, because that's a big word. So let me put a little parameter on. What I want to do is define what your opinion of valuable media is to the cigar industry. So is news media valuable? Is influencer media more valuable? If you have a take, if you don't, just say you don't, that's fine. But I want to kind of make sure that people understand that when we say media, that we're really more or less defining subcategories of media. Is that fair?
I think that's the place to start, and I can belabor a topic till the cows come home type of thing. But I think calling it, media in a content creator oriented world where, the platforms, even the platform that we're on, for example, demands that you have an upload schedule, demands that you have something to talk about, that it can, shove in an algorithm that's easy enough to understand.
Yep.
I think the premise of where William Cooper was getting off on this is news and what is commonly known as news and what is an authoritative source of that news and how well they are fed versus how well those other categories are fed, those other sectors are fed. And I would go further on this to say that we had a little conversation about this before jumping on the show about what the actual acronym of news is, and there's some debate if it is even.
Had no idea that was an acronym. 40 years on this planet, people, school has failed me.
Right.
No idea it was an acronym.
I looked it up just before we came on the show real quick because I had to refresh myself. But it's supposed to be notable events, weather, and sports. It's supposed to be news. Now, there's a debate if that's actually true, if that's actually why we call it a newspaper, because it contains those topics.
All the elements, yeah.
I think it makes a lot of logical sense. And in our modern term, we tend to say hard news, right, or something that is, to kind of give it more of an authority behind what we're broadcasting, what we're trying to distribute. So I don't know if there's anything to really agree or disagree on here. Now, getting into the article, that's where we'll probably be able to expand on why some sources feel like they're a little bit disenfranchised.
Sure. What's your take on defining the term? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with that. I think it's a wide swath of what it covers, right? What media covers, because I think media can both be entertaining and it can be news. And so I think there needs to be a defining, for me in reading the article, like there needs to be a defining space between what is entertainment media and what is actual news media.
I would agree with you on that. This is entertainment media.
This is entertainment media.
I would not consider this news media.
Correct. And I don't think even like when I was doing our podcast with Tim, that was entertainment media. Right?
Correct. I would agree.
So, and I think even kind of further, like there may and Daniel, you may be able to touch on this or not, but there may be even like a subcategory of more informational versus actual like hard news. So I think media can be one, entertaining, two, like how do I educate, or three, what's new, what's coming out, what's happening.
Yep.
And so I think that those are the three different main spaces in my brain that I see of media.
I would agree with that. I think that's fair. Fair.
I think it's a contentious world for these terms outside of cigars.
Absolutely.
We have, without getting into the world of politics, of course, there is a substantial and notable figure that regularly says that certain outlets are not news, not media, are fake media, and so on. So I think that why is that being brandish so regularly in the modern day, I think that has a heck of a lot to do with editorialization of news. So
I would agree.
You have a notable event, and it could be something as minuscule as a cigar coming on the market, a cigar being reviewed, where I personally look into whether or not that publication is, regularly publishing hard news or something authoritative in their approach, is in their editorialization, is what they editorialize against accurate, right? Is that an accurate outcome? And I mean, my opinion is that even 90% of those large blogs that we have in this community and so on regularly get it wrong. And they don't just get it wrong a little bit, they get it profoundly wrong. I mean, we have a cigar that we make for a customer that recently got a review, and in their editorialization, their statements about my company that I've built the last many years, and everything was completely wrong, and how do you make that large of a mistake, and how do you do that at scale so many times over? Whenever there's corrections that have already been sent to you, there's already, so again, are you really an authoritative source whenever you have the information in hand somewhere, but you just for some reason, is AI writing these articles? I mean, I really don't know. But I think that's happening a little too frequently, even in cigars, is the editorialization is just not that good.
I think there's a certain amount of laziness that goes behind that, and that's difficult, right? I think people, and I don't even know how to explain it, but it's sometimes it seems to me like there's a laziness behind that. They're just grasping what they can find because they want to get something out, versus taking the time to get the accurate information out.
I gotta scoop you.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing. Is
I thought you were gonna pick me up right now.
Well, no, I don't know. But that's it's. I got to be first. I got to be first. I don't have to necessarily be 100% right. If I'm 80% there, I could retract something.
Yeah. I think that's a big element of it. And I mean, I said in the post that you commented on and asked me to come on the show. I appreciate that. But in that post, I said that there's really only, in my opinion, one news outlet in cigars, and I'll break the fourth wall here, or what have you, and that I believe that source is actually William Cooper, because he regularly reports on convenient, inconvenient, does so in an expeditious manner, doesn't elaborate in his editorialization, where he finds himself getting things wrong regularly, and he does so in a way that I think is more authoritative than other sources out there.
Now, I'll be honest with you. You didn't mention that. I thought you were talking about Half Wheel. Because the thing I always hear about Charlie is he's hounds everybody for all this information all the time. So I just assumed that's who you were referring to. I don't know if Coop knew that you were referring to him.
Well, I don't generally directly broadcast those things, but I'm willing to do so here because it's poignant to the conversation we're having. But the thing is, a lot of editorialization creates a scenario where history will catch up to that editorialization, and you'll be able to find fairly dramatic errors. And this is without even getting into the fact that we have split personality now in content creation. Okay, we have one very interesting area of content creation, which is we're making this for the Rob Report guys, and then we have the other version, which is the Car and Driver. And this is not a new thing. This has been talked about by a great many of cigar content creators and media. Now, in doing so, I mean, whether whichever basket you feel like you've put yourself in your content creation, we still have the very unique thing in cigars where the New York Times, for example, does not go out and create critical reviews oftentimes of individuals. Those are entirely opinion pieces. whenever they're doing an op editorial type of thing. It's entirely an opinion piece that is published by them. That said, for whatever reason, in cigars, we don't often see multiple reviews from the same group where you have, distinguished differing opinions. You do see that, however, in your mainstream media, even with all of its defects, right? You still see that. So I find that interesting. I find that really interesting, and I think that oftentimes we see a lot of that communication of opinion is based on an aspirational idea of what people think a cigar should be, right?
Yeah, I don't like the cigar reviews. The reason why I stopped doing them, first off, other than algorithms and YouTube not liking you doing them, was people were getting upset. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't taste it. I've been smoking this cigar for 10 years. Why don't I taste this? And my response to that, and you used to do reviews. My typical response to them was listen, reviewers, it's all subjective. If you're lucky to find one where you can subjectively find that they like the same cigars, that might be a palate you can trust and go, wow, you liked it? Okay, you like a lot of the same stuff. But outside of that, like, you shouldn't really be watching 5 different reviews of the same cigar. Just go out and buy the freaking cigar and smoke it, first off. But my biggest thing was people were like taking offense to. I've smoked for 30 years. I started cigars, and I don't even know what you're tasting. You're like, I don't taste leather. Well, that's all. Like, don't get upset over it. And then I also felt that people honed in too much, where it's like, if I didn't get what the reviewer said, it was a negative. So kind of to your point, sometimes cigar reviews do more harm than good, because you can get what's it. I mean, come on, what's a 90? What's an 80? What what is all of that? You get in the 70s, I might like that cigar.
Yeah. I think when a cigar company gets a really high rated review and stuff, they're pretty excited about it, And I mean, heck, some of them will go out and put it on their packaging and everything like that. And I mean, I would tell you by the numbers. I mean, most all blogs, we've had some very favorable reviews. I mean, we've gotten some 94s and all this kind of stuff. I mean, and we do extraordinarily well on blind panels, because the thing is, when you have a new brand, especially a new brand, we have our own factory. We grow our own tobacco. We have our own brand. We're the first vertically integrated cigar company out of Nicaragua in potentially 30 years. I just don't know of another one that's actually done what we've done and can speak to it. But that said, people still don't know the name. They don't know the mark yet, and they don't know where that bias kind of fits in. And to expand on that further, the detriment to the great number of reviewers out there is actually the knowledge of tobacco. And when you hear reviewers so regularly, what's that?
We were just literally talking about this.
We were just talking about this? Okay.
Like literally yesterday.
Yeah,
and we were like almost verbatim from what you just said.
Okay. Well, I wasn't in that conversation, but so I don't know if it's going to go or end the same way that this is going to go.
It's going the same way.
Okay. So, the thing is, so we started looking into some of these reviews, and what we did was we basically took 10 large publications, right, with essentially what is the best SEO, right, search engine optimization. So we took 10 of those, took random 10 reviews from the last year, and we just pounded it with questions, right. We used AI to do this. So we went out and actually collected all these reviews, and then we asked it, how many of these discuss combustion issues, right? Well, 40% of all reviews discuss combustion issues. How many times have you recommended a cigar to somebody in the last year, and if the cigar didn't completely blow up on you, which is likely a humidity issue, how many times have you actually discussed combustion? You just don't really talk about it from cigar smoker to cigar smoker. And I would argue that a third of all cigars I've smoked in the last year do not have rabid with construction issues or combustion problems, right?
Mhm.
And then compound that with the number of times that, and I'll say this, reviewers have gotten better about this, I think, in the last year or two, especially as they start to come down to Nicaragua and kind of learn more about tobacco itself. But they would regularly comment on things about fermentation and things of that nature. And I mean, I've lived down here for 6 years, and I've been going and visiting factories, all different factories, and we do our own fermentation in-house of our filler tobaccos. And I can tell you that to this day, I can pick up a bunch of tobacco, and I might be close to within a month or a week or so when I think that tobacco might be done. I don't have the charm yet. So I don't know how someone who's not spent 6 years living here as I have and been around this for the extent and the duration that I have.
Needed 2 more weeks.
Yeah. I mean, but the other disadvantage is if you look at the majority of cigars that get released per year, we spend years oftentimes. We launch our products as projects. So we spend, the next cigar that we're coming out with, breaking news here. I'm going to break news on your show. It's going to be in Connecticut.
Hold on.
Oh, hard media.
So,
Here we go.
All right.
This is the
All right,
hard
so-
media board, guys.
Domain Cigars will be launching a Connecticut cigar. Connecticut
about
shake,
time.
as you typically call it. Yeah. So
Late to the
so we-
game, aren't you? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, big groundbreaking stuff. But it's a project that we've been working on for a while. We've had all the packaging and marketing stuff and all that done for 2 years now. So when we work on these things, we work on them years in advance. Now, a lot of brands though don't have that advantage. They have to be first mover to the market as close as possible. So, they're going to come out with a Connecticut, they're going to come out with a Maduro. They're not going to tell you, what the heck that Maduro is, and so on and so on. So they're going to come out with all these different varieties of wrappers, and sometimes even 2 and 3 deep on that to hit different niches that they're trying to scratch. And look, I understand that, but there's really only about 30, maybe 35 or so factories here in Esteli that have a brand connected to them. You've got about 87 factories that are actually registered here in Nicaragua, somewhere in that ballpark. It could be up or down, 1 or 2 a year tops. But that said, the vast majority of new releases on the market are going to be from fairly short-term projects that have been worked out against less than 5 bells of tobacco. So you're not always getting the prime of the prime, the cream of the crop, so to speak, and that leads reviewers oftentimes to evaluating and ranking a lot of tobaccos that, in our opinion, would be subpar to put in our own cigars. So imagine how that can tweak your opinion of what is coming out of factories when the majority of what you're smoking is Toyota, and a Ferrari comes around and you bomb it because it had a burn issue that you talked about in 40% of your other reviews this year.
And see, that's not right that a review could burn a cigar like that. That's where I know. Do you even care about? I don't even care about lists anymore. Like, do you look at them other than because you're in the industry?
Yeah, I mean,
From
just
a
because I'm in the
personal side,
industry and I know
do you
people still chase some of the but it's not what it used to be. I mean, look, we have the TAA that used to be like, man, I would hunt down the TAA cigars every year. People just aren't doing that anymore. What I'm seeing the gross majority of people doing is what's new. And that's what they wanted. What haven't I smoked yet in this humidor?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting more so than, hey, I saw this on a list, or hey, this is the TAA, whatever. Like, that's completely shifted and changed. And I think, for me, a part of it seems to be that there's just an overwhelming amount of, dare I say, bullshit out there that comes from all these different sources that can't even pronounce the word Nicaragua.
Or
Or jalapa, or they're saying that something is a
Esteli.
Dominican cigar when it came out of Esteli, or they're saying Esteli, Dominican Republic, and it's just like, you see all this stuff, and like, listen, I mean, I'll call it out just because of friends of mine, but like Charlie Minato, with Half Wheel, he's a special duck. I've never tasted fatty tuna or chamomile tea in a freaking cigar. But I'm also like,
You must eat a lot or drink a lot of that.
and step back real quick. You accused me of doing reviews. I've never actually done reviews.
I thought you and Tim
No.
every once in a while did cigar
No,
reviews.
I never did cigar reviews because I don't have a palate for it. Number two, my mom's macaroni and cheese tastes different than your mom's macaroni and cheese. So I don't want to sit here and say that I taste leather or I taste something that like somebody else perceives in their mind as a different flavor note. So even when I'm doing my events as a cigar broker and I'm here to represent a brand and I'm doing an event and guys go, well, what's the profile of the cigar? Or what's it taste like? What am I going to get from this? I'm like, you're going to get the experience of cutting and lighting that cigar and seeing what memories it brings up for you. Well, what's the blend? And my response lately, because I used to give the blends and I just don't give a shit anymore. Because at the end of the day, like, what's the blend? Well, 99.9% of the people out there, if I said, well, it's a jalapa wrapper and a Esteli binder with, Peruvian, Dominican, and Honduran fillers. What do you expect to get out of that?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. So it kind of tastes like a Davidoff.
Yeah, but you have no freaking clue, right? Because
No,
and
you
even
don't.
if you thought
You
you
don't.
knew what each one of those individual tobaccos tasted like, you don't know the entire process. You don't know
Or
where the
amounts.
blender put that tobacco.
Correct.
Where it's sitting in there, what its purpose is, because some tobacco is meant for strength, some's meant for flavor, is meant just purely for combustion. So what is the position of that tobacco? You have no clue.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that come in and tell me, they're like, oh, I'm looking for a Nicaraguan cigar. And I go, what's your favorite one? And they point out a damn near Puro Dominican cigar is their favorite. You're just like, bro, you have no clue. And that's okay. It's not a dog on those people.
No, it's not.
It's by no means smoke what you like
like we just
and try other stuff.
absolutely.
Like, that's my number one thing. I go in and look and say, okay, I like this, I like that. So let me buy 4 cigars from my local retailer. And I'm going to buy the 2 that I like and 2 that I've never tried. Right? So then if I really am not enjoying this cigar, I have 2 in my hand that I do know that I enjoy. So, like, what is a review for me?
No, I agree with you.
It's nothing, and half of them are completely wrong on what's in it. They're making it up.
100%.
Like,
yeah.
they're making it up. Like, I've literally had cigars that the manufacturer has said, we are not disclosing what the blend is. And I go on to review, and there's a freaking blend chart of what's in the... I'm like, nobody's been told what this is. How do you have it?
Well, I can taste it.
I represent... Yeah, sure you can.
It was
okay,
grown
bud.
on the 7th volcano.
Listen, I know a couple guys that have a palate, and they can pull certain tobaccos out. And they can
I know a
they
few
can
guys
get
that
pretty
can
close.
actually do that.
Fantastic on you. That's
Very
awesome,
hard.
right?
Years, decades.
Hey, I'm not that guy. If I did a cigar review, I'd be like, I'm smoking this and I like it. It would be a 2-second, it'd be shorts on YouTube is all it would be. Like, that's all my entire channel would be, is shorts on YouTube. I'm smoking this and I like it. I'm smoking this and I don't like it. Like, that's all it would be. But when you start to get into the depth of these things, I'm sorry, dude, it's a handmade product. You're going to have... Daniel Lance, I've known Daniel for a long time. And Daniel is like... Daniel, when he gets involved in something, he is the nerd of all nerds in whatever he gets involved in. And I say that in the kindest way because I know that Daniel's going to produce the best and he's going to take the time to do it right to become educated.
Well, I will just say the reason for you, if you know Daniel's history, what he did before
Oh,
this, if he wasn't that way,
Yeah.
a lot of people could have gotten a lot of things done wrong to them. So,
But
like, there's a reason for that. His
yeah.
job.
But the point
Lend-
is I can get a domain cigar, which I know are going to be fantastic because Daniel Lance is behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be plugged.
And
There's processes that happen, and you can do everything you want in a manufacturing process, including draw testing, right? You have your little Nicaraguan lady sitting there, and she sucks on every cigar, and she goes by her cheek pucker factor, and if it doesn't pucker too far, then it passes muster, right? So,
Well,
and it could pass muster, but then,
I don't know anyone doing that, by the way.
that's not.
that's
Wait, that's not how it
not
works.
That's
That's
not
not how it
happening here,
works?
but no,
Oh
no.
shoot! I gotta go change my review.
Isn't that how you guys got the cap to stick?
I gotta go
Was,
change my whole media thing. I always told people if your
Well-
cigar has notes of cherry to it, she just applied the chapstick.
Right.
But the reality is, like, it can go through a draw test process, and then it leaves that. And if you don't understand the manufacturing process of this, the simple process of taking that out of the draw test machine and setting it back into the mold, if that guy twists just a little bit, it creates a plug. But it already passed the test.
correct.
If the guy putting the wrapper leaf on does something, it can plug the cigar. The band can plug the cigar. So, like, I'm sorry, you got a bad cigar. Like, you got something that just got tweaked that little bit. Dude, and that's one thing I do respect about Half Wheel and some of these other guys that I find to be respectable media sources or review sources, is that they will smoke 3 cigars that they went out and purchased themselves from a shop.
And they will tell you, I had an issue with the first one, the second one.
The
or
other
not
2
a-
were fantastic,
Yeah.
whatever. It's like,
Sure.
it's the whole Cuban theory, right? Like, how do you know you got a real box of Cubans? Because it's a 10 count box and you can only smoke 6 of them. The rest of them are plugged, right? Like, that's how you know they're real.
Hold on, the sliding front, the glass fronts.
The glass front with the 7 different brands, the competing brands in the one box, that tells you it's real, right?
But like, you know, to your point, and we'll kind of move on and touch on a different area of what you were saying. But to kind of to your point, what I feel is like, I don't know of too many other industries, and it does seem to happen with the niche industry. I don't look at my TV and go, "Oh, I know every aspect of my TV. Oh, that's a 3.2 gigawatt LED bulb in there. Oh, okay, what this panel?" But like,
Gigawatt. 1.21 gigawatts.
but like I'm always like so just amazed that people that pick up something that have never created it, never rolled it, never been to a factory. That's why when I did my reviews, it was my profile. It was literally what I take, and I let people know it's just what I take. It's what I eat. That's what most people don't understand. Like what it's a memory. It's not. It's if you eat nothing but Doritos, you're gonna taste nacho cheese.
Well, take it a step back, dude. What did you eat before you smoked that
What did you
cigar? What
drink?
mood are you in? How hydrated are you? Like what's your health like in that moment? So like, one cigar today, case in point, I had Luis Cuevas with me on tour out here in Colorado, and he had just released a Patrimonio, which was one of his stronger cigars that he put in, that he's come out with. And he's been smoking that thing in Miami, and just, you know, that's where he did all the blending down in Dominican and all that stuff. Well, he comes up here in Colorado, and he's driving along with me in the car, and he lights up the Patrimonio, and he's smoking the thing. And then I see him do what, like, typical blenders do when they question something. And he pulls the cigar away, and he just starts inspecting and looking at the cigar, and he takes another puff, and then, you know, blows on it, looks at it, and he's doing this thing. So, I mean, you see that all the time, right, Daniel? Like, that's...
Yeah.
You're like, what's wrong with my freaking cigar? And I looked at him, I go, what's wrong? And he goes, this isn't my cigar. I was like, well, it came out of your factory. You're the one that's there that does all this stuff. So yes, it is. He didn't realize that being at 9,000 feet completely changed that cigar. The
Big
flavor, the strength, the combustion, all of it changed. So you doing a review here has no bearing on me smoking that same cigar in Phoenix.
I agree.
It's a completely different cigar where I'm at.
The air's thinner and a little bit. So we're getting a really quick question here. Sorry, Bruce. We kind of jumped in.
We missed 2 important things, by the way. 2 very important things. We jumped right into this, like, just feet first. We missed 2 important things. And before we get to what we're smoking, I think Mr. Daniel Lance should let us know who he is.
You know, I just took that for granted because
Everybody's like, who's this guy?
I've been looking into you so much. I just took that for granted. So yes, okay. So I apologize.
I don't mean to take over your show.
No, you're right. I just was excited to talk about this and and have Daniel on. I like when new people come on. But you're right, because I normally don't do a show like this.
Yeah.
I normally get right into. So Daniel, let's kind of take a step back. And let's have you introduce yourself. But as we're doing that, let's go ahead and get you to show the cigar you're smoking, sponsored by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. What are you smoking tonight, Dave?
So I'm smoking right now a Segundo, which is a factory second of Entropy Toro. So very, very fancy cigar. And then I have a couple of backups here. These are some of Esteban Disla's residencies. So residency cigars are when we make cigars for other people. So these are 2 test blends that we've been working on for another company in the United States. So that's what I got on deck tonight.
Awesome. And Brandon, we'll go for you, and then we'll have Daniel give a little background. What are you smoking tonight?
I'm smoking actually, I'm going to call it by the old name because they go by Casa Carrillo now, but I'm smoking a EP Carrillo TAA limited edition cigar.
Perfect.
I don't know if this is from 21 or 22, but it's from one of those years because the date's not on it. So it's either 21 or 22 TAA EP Carrillo.
And I have the Rojas 10-year anniversary. Can you give us the blend? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I can. I absolutely can. It's tobacco.
I know you can.
It's got tobacco with GFY fillers.
So that's what we're smoking tonight. Thank you so much, Steve Sacker, for sponsoring the What Are You Smoking Tonight segment of the show. So Daniel, tell everybody just a little brief history of your background, how you got into cigar, and like you literally just up and left the country and moved to Nicaragua. Like you went feet first into this. Like you cannonball.
No, he Irish goodbyed the whole
He
thing.
did.
Bro. He straight up like Irish goodbye. It's like Daniel's there one day, and then it's like, did the guy die? Where did he go?
Right. He followed in the steps of Jonathan Drew and Nick.
Yeah.
From Foundation. So give us a little background.
Well, I wish it was that intentional. It was not that intentional.
Nothing he does is intentional.
Everything he does is with purpose. This is Daniel.
Yeah. So I've been in cigars for over 2 decades now. I worked for Outlaw Cigar Company. That was my first job as a retailer. I helped them build their South store. It's a very notorious retailer in the Midwest there. Own a accessories company called Lujo Concepts. We make the best cigar cutter in the world, and still do.
I would actually agree with that. I'm gonna stop him right there for a minute. I would actually agree with that. So I've known Daniel long enough that I got to actually be a part of like the prototyping of that, and back when I was an influencer. But I actually still have one, and it was really quite a fun experience because I remember that there was an issue with the shark skin.
Yeah. He calls me up. He's like, but I was busting around on my ATV. I'm like, you have a luxury leather shark skin cutter.
We didn't survive the fall.
He's like, I tore it up a bit. You know, I'm like, what do you think this is? Like, are you grand thumbing my cigar cutter right now?
You asked me to test it, and I watched you throw one against a block wall, and it chipped the wall and didn't hurt the cutter.
To this day, I regret doing that because now it became like a durability test, you know. So for those that haven't seen the BTX, this is the BTX cigar cutter. People oftentimes call it the Batman of cigar cutters, anyway, built that company, and my professional career was in cybersecurity. So that's what gave me, more money than brains to be able to move to Nicaragua and do this. I had, worked multiple capacities for multiple different cigar shops. I had helped with mergers and acquisitions of cigar shops, helped bail some of them out, write their books, all this kind of stuff. I just always had a great interest in the business of cigars, but I wanted to learn the industry of cigars, and the division there was quite clear to me. So I had a retailer friend that always bothered me about coming down to Nicaragua. I finally, said yes, I'd come down. He used to go down yearly. And so came down here, and I told him my first time down here, I was like, don't let me buy a house my first time. Every time I'd been to Latin America, I'd been to Central America, South America, I'd always really enjoyed myself. I've been all over the world, and I got to do so on other people's dime because I was doing it for my work in cybersecurity. And I think that gave me a really realistic view of what type of people, what type of culture I like to take part in. And that said, I had to take a trip to England. I was supposed to go to Jordan. I got kicked out of Jordan because of my cybersecurity background, so I couldn't enter the country. And basically they turned me around, and I called my boss at the time.
They turned me around.
I was building a startup, which we actually just sold. We just sold it for $1 billion. It was an AI startup back before most people knew what an AI company was. we built that company. I was the fourth person in the States to help build it. And I asked them, I go, do you care where I live? And they go, as long as you get to an airport, we don't give a damn. And so I moved to Nicaragua the next week and got a farm, got a house, and I had no plan of any of this happening. I had become really good friends with Esteban Diehl and his entire family. He owned a factory here at the time, and I'd go visit him, and I was just infatuated with the factory process because he ran a factory in just a totally different way. Quality control was done different. Material sourcing was done different. There was just a lot to learn, and I really enjoyed that. And it's a total surprise to me whenever he told me he was leaving his factory, and he had sold his share in his factory. And I go, well, you want your friend to feel useful and stuff. So I go, how about you make me a cigar? And so little did I know he had a big plan for how we could work together. And so I met up with him, and it was like, we're going to grow our own tobacco. We're going to build our own factory. We're going to build our own brand. And it was like, okay, but we don't have a factory. No, we're going to build one. We don't have a brand. Yeah, we have to build one. So we just said 50-50, and the rest has been kind of history. That was, many, many years ago now. So we founded Tabacalera Familia Diehl in 2023. Started making cigars and did that all the way through until 24 when we finally launched the company. And so we're the first vertically integrated cigar company out of Nicaragua, we believe, in almost 30 years. Really hasn't happened since the 90s, where people would, originally, in the 90s, if you wanted to go launch a cigar company, you kind of had to beg someone to make cigars for you, or you had to go there, become an expert. You had to go the path that so many very iconic companies have. And of course, Esteban, growing up in the Dominican Republic and transplanting 25 years ago here to Esteli in Nicaragua, his inspiration was always the Cuban guys that had come over to the Dominican Republic and built companies from the ground up. And to him, that was where his journey as a cigar maker was always going to land. So I got a business partner, but I got a whole family, and that's why we named the company after his family, because it's to honor the craftsmanship and the heritage that they've built for themselves. So I'm the president of Tabacalera Familia Diehl. We employ 150 people here in Nicaragua. And then, of course, we jointly own the operation as well as Domain Cigars in the United States.
I gotta say, how long have you owned your business?
With this company?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going on 8 years in this business.
Do you have 150 people employed?
No.
That's impressive, Daniel. 6 years. You said how? Yeah, 6 years time. You got 150.
Well, do you count me?
Employed.
So I guess if you count all my personalities, then yes.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But they all work for free.
Subcategories of branding.
Yeah, they all work for free though.
That's impressive.
Well,
I know companies that haven't been around a decade with more than 20 people in them. So that's impressive.
It takes a lot of people, and we don't finish our own wrapper in house. So that's part of why it's not 300 people, because we don't have our own wrapper operation. We're working aggressively to change that right now. Of course, we have a lot of interesting government things that are happening right now. Yes, to Nicaragua, not in Nicaragua. In fact, Nicaragua has been amazing to work with. It really has. And I always try to stress that to people that just don't know the business environment here and how the country works. I truly wanted to immigrate to Nicaragua. I wanted to, in so many words, become a Nicaraguan. I'm an American. I'm a proud American, but I'm very much of the vein of I wasn't going to go, hang out with all the expats and stuff that are all, miserable because they don't control the world around them anymore. I wanted to learn how they do things here and learn their laws and learn their customs. And I feel like that approach, since I originally, moved here, has aided me significantly.
Well, you went whole hog into it. Like you can't say you tiptoed into it by any means. I mean, sure. you Anchorman style cannonballed right into it, and you you took steps, like, again, it shows how much confidence you have as a business owner, that you took steps that would literally terrify anybody thinking of doing that. Like, if you were to talk to a lot of, I'm not moving to Nicaragua and started, like, you know what kind of investment that takes, you know what kind of skill that takes. Now, so like, you had the ability to bring somebody in that offered all of that to you, and kudos
Yeah.
to you for realizing it and jumping off, and you landed on your feet, and you've been doing really well.
Well, I always tell people Esteban had a lot of better offers on the table, frankly, with people that are, cigar famous. And you realize pretty quickly when you do this, especially when you do this with someone like the Distillery family, which I think has a very iconic name in this business. And if you look around at humidors, it is rare that you're in a humidor where an eighth to even a third of the cigars on the shelf are not some way inspired or impacted by the work of their family, including Raul Distillery, which of course works for us at Despinique and is also an owner in Despinique. And then Esteban and his former work with Latin America Cigars, which today you know as STG or General Cigar Company. So we're very, very proud of the work that they've done, and wishing all the brands that they've worked with the best of success. But that said, there's kind of a divide where you can have brand success and you can have industry success. And industry success does not always translate to brand success.
Correct.
And so often it's difficult to tell that story, especially as a new and growing company. And that's why the media conversation that we're having here is so poignant to what we do, because I think back to some of the iconic people that have come before and had an incredible amount of success because they really understood manufacturing. They really understood the industrial side of cigars. And a great prominent example of that is my father's cigars, Dr. Garcia. Him and Esteban are really the only two people in the Valley that have a similar story, that they worked through every single position in premium tobacco to find themselves owning a brand, owning a factory, owning agriculture, and sourcing. So you just don't have that much expertise in the Valley that's done all of those things.
Would you say
But when I
AJ?
look-
Would you count AJ in that category too?
Oh, no particular critique on what any one other factory or brand has done. But if you don't come up actually on a rolling table and working in fields and in farms and so on, those are all disciplines that take a decade to learn each.
Okay.
And I would not claim to be a master of any of those. In fact, we kind of say there's very few masters. There is mastery in tobacco. There certainly is. And in fact, Brandon represents some amazing brands that you're going to get a fantastic product from, and they have mastery in different areas of the domain of cigars. So, to tie all that together, when you look at in the last 10 years, what have new and upcoming and inspiring companies been able to achieve? None of them really achieved the whole stack. And they don't really work that direction. There would be, if it really mattered to the average cigar smoker what we're doing, hey, we would be a much larger company today. But it matters to us, and it matters to the products that we put out. And we always tell people that, we build domain for the 5% of daily cigar smokers that are in lounges every day, that have a cigar in their hand every single day. That's who we built domain for. We've not yet put out a product that is targeted at that 95% of cigar smokers that are casual smokers that rely on proximity to a product to smoke it. Now, when I think back, pre-content creation and social media era, if you take my father's cigars as a great example, their story was so powerful and so captivating that people shared it word of mouth. And I remember first being introduced to their cigars, and very enthusiastically at a cigar shop, having a tobacconist tell me, "Oh yeah, this guy, he has this crazy story, and he came from Cuba, and he's done all this great work, and he's putting out just excellent stuff." And you don't see that as much in lounges anymore. And you don't see a lot of people, frankly, some of the best lounges that, Brandon and I work with on the business of cigars in the States, some of the best lounges, they're hopping out of their chair as soon as, if they even have a chair,
Right.
as soon as a customer walks in and they're going into the humidor and they're wanting to talk about the cigars. And that's where, to Brandon's point earlier, the wrapper binder filler conversation neglects the story of the cigar maker, neglects the narrative. And if you're going to narrative sell cigars, it's harder today to narrative sell my cigars than it is to put something on the shelf where the narrative has already been told, but it was told 10 years ago. So new narratives today really struggle to get up off of the page, and you struggle to get highlighted in a reasonable, meaningful way when people just aren't that aware. They're not aware that Esteban Diehl is like the Steve Jobs of Esteli. He's built.
To that point, and I meant to interrupt because I wanted to keep you here. To that point,
yeah, sure.
Do you think that's where maybe some cigar media, hard news media, has failed? Is they focus a lot on the shiny versus the stable, the people that have been in the industry for 30 years, the actual master blenders, and I say it in air quotes because that title is only earned and given; it's never taken. So, like, why would we? Cigar media is failed. Is we should know about the Diehl family. Like, you would think that would provide an overall a better encompassing story for cigars to know about them.
Well, like we were talking about briefly, top 10 list earlier, and I would say that the only top 10 list that really matters is Cigar Aficionado. It's the only one that's going to move the needle massively for you. Not that other publications aren't doing a damn good job, and that we won't agree or even applaud how they've put together these lists. But that's the one that really moves the needle. Each year when that comes out, my opinion of it is always that everyone is deserving. Right, everyone who decides to throw their hat in this ring is deserving of those accolades. And if you look at where media has had a lot of focus, particularly that publication, there's very rarely a scenario where a cigar is on a top 10 list of something like Cigar Aficionado and the company's out of business, 2 or 3 years later. There's very rarely a scenario, now if you're one of those, I would say iconic or legacy cigar companies, and you're putting out short limited releases regularly, media is going to go nuts for that. they're gonna go wild. They're gonna go ham, right? But they go ham for what is less than a bell of tobacco in consumption. We might use for 1,000 cigars, we might be at 60 some odd pounds of tobacco, and the bell that it comes off of might be 120 to 200 pounds, right? You have publications writing whole articles about 10 packs of cigars that are paper wrapped that have in production less than 5,000. My production minimum at my factory is 50,000 cigars, because we know that that's the sweet spot where we can really get into the tobacco, and we have a chance at making a little bit of money at it at the same time. Where if I just do 5,000 cigars, tariff concerns come up and all those guys cancel orders, and that's why we have people in the valley right now closing factories early. It's terrible, but it just that's been a provocative way to keep yourself relevant in media. And I think it's a little bit predatory of media. They will always write about a new cigar release. They won't necessarily write about you putting online 3 master blenders, as we did recently. We brought in Kevin Baxter, who's had an incredible work history in premium tobacco. We have Raul Disla working for us, blending cigars and working with the factory, and we have, of course, Esteban Disla. So That's a less provocative story than, hey, there's, a new cigar out to go buy, so that seems immediately more relevant to the average cigar smoker.
Well, it seems.
So
I remember, and this is kind of correlates, but with one of my nonprofits that I run, Daniel, you've been around it with the Let's Roll Foundation.
mhm.
I remember the very first event that we did, and I reached out to all the news media outlets to try and drive some attention to what we're doing. We're doing free oil change and inspections for veterans, right, that are struggling, and no cost to anybody, and all this. Like, it was a great thing. Like, it was a really cool thing that we were doing. And I remember one of the media outlets telling me, "Well, if a baby doesn't drown, then we'll be there." And it's like,
Bleeds, it leads.
so I don't even know if you're showing up to my event. So, like, I'm on my toes going, like, okay, do I have 18 people showing up, or do I have, like, 2,000 people showing up? Because
Yeah.
I have
Sure.
no idea, because media has that much of an influence. But if there's not bad news or something that people, like, clickbait news, then we'll be there, because we just need something to fill the hole. And it's like,
Yeah.
and I see that in the cigar industry. We have lost, like, I remember in my early years of smoking cigars being so excited to meet the rep. It wasn't even like the cigar brand owner always. It was like meeting the rep. And it was the coolest thing in the world, because, like, they had knowledge and some insight in the industry, and there was excitement there, and they had a story to tell, and they can get me excited about a new cigar that I might not have tried because the band isn't blue or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and that just seems to have gone by the wayside, because we've lost the story of the cigar, and we're on to what's the new shiny widget that somebody could pick up, and how do we best explain it in a way that people are either A, going to buy it or not going to buy it, right?
Yeah.
And then to further that, like, it seems like a lot of, like, the review channels, for the most part, have become grossly disconnected on how to review a cigar. For instance, and this is no bash on any one of them, but an 86 or an 87 on half wheel is equivalent to a 92 or a 93 in Cigar Aficionado. And I've had many conversations with Patrick about this, and it's because of the way that they do their ratings. One starts at the top at 100 points and they deduct, the other one starts at the bottom at 0 and add.
Yeah.
Well, that greatly changes where that sits. But to the average consumer, they have no freaking clue. So then they go and they look at publications and they go, "Oh, Domain Cigars got an 86. I'm going to go find the 92." When in fact, Domain Cigars is a fantastic cigar that you should go smoke and see if it fits your palate.
Maybe Cigar Snob and 5 other magazines gave it a 92.
But
And
that's not the one that you read, whatever
Yeah.
it is. And it's,
Yeah. I would say, just to add on to that, I don't know that actually hurts us all that much. I think it spoils the retailer.
that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, because
Yeah,
our
so
retailers have gotten somewhat lazy, and they're not getting up and introducing. Now we have some great retailers out there still, and a lot of them seem to be these young people coming in that have an excitement for the brands, for
Sure.
the cigars. They want the relationships, that, because ultimately, like, a cigar is a great unifier,
100%.
right? Like, at the time, Daniel was in cybersecurity and I was a dirty mechanic, and we became friends, right? And it didn't matter how much he made, how much I made, but we sat down and we smoked a cigar together. So that there's been a disconnect at some point from that, where that relationship portion, I think, for the consumer is still there, but there's been a disconnect in the relationship from the brand.
I agree.
And I think a part of that is a part of it, not all of it, but I think a part of that is because of media. There's so many people out there doing entertainment media, and it's about, look what I'm smoking, you should smoke the same thing, instead of about, like, what Tim and I were doing. Our goal was to, we were Christ focused because of our belief, but we also wanted to get people on to tell their story. And we asked the different question. It wasn't always, well, what's the next cigar coming out? What tobacco is that out of? What ratings did you get? How does it smoke? What's the profile?
What's the pH?
Like, none of that crap was asked. It was like, I remember Pete Johnson being on and just saying, like, dude, where did you come from? What's your life like? What do you believe in? What, like,
That's
who
what I try to
are
do here.
you?
Yeah, that's more fun.
Because, well, it's more fun, but at the end of the day, like, there are certain brands I used to smoke a ton of, and I no longer smoke because I don't like what the person stands for and who they are, and it lost my palate for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's brands that, like, arguably I could say are equivalent to other brands that are out there, but I smoke more of them because I have a relationship with those people and I've gotten to know them. And so to me, it's about supporting more than it is about the cigar,
Oh yeah,
right?
my humidor is full of my friends' cigars
Yeah.
that own companies that I'm friendly with. Like, I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's brands that I will not take if they're given to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't like who they are. I don't like the manufacturer, and I'm not going to name any names here. It's not for me to.
Oh, I will.
Spread.
No,
That's
I'm just kidding.
That's on you, everybody. Disclaimer.
I'm kidding.
But no, like, I agree with you. So let's circle back. Do you think then, as a manufacturer, is because cigar media goes to the shiny thing oftentimes, we'll say hard media goes to the shiny, hard news media goes to the shiny thing, is that why the manufacturers are reaching more out to the retailers, giving them the direct information versus 15 years ago, media was relied on to give that information out? You guys were going. So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. So I think that you have to contextualize that the retailer is our direct customer.
Correct. Yes.
And our time is perceivably best spent working and maturing them to distribute our vision, or what the premise was behind a project that we worked on and launched this cigar around. So I think that going, when we launched our company, we launched it direct to the retailer, and then we informed the media. And we tried to do so in such a way that wasn't intended to make it into a sales thing. We gave out a gift. We made a custom box of cigars for retailers. We sent out, we called her our 1 of 100. So we scoped out 100 different retailers that we wanted to work with for all varying different reasons, and really narrowed down on a list of people that we felt like should strongly consider what we've been building. Now, that said, media still published about the launch of our company, even though we did that. Now, how much longer will they continue to do that if I continue to reach directly out to retailers with product announcements and so on into the future? I'm not entirely certain, and I'm not certain how richly they will broadcast our messaging as a result of that. So I think you do that too much, and there's a probability of being punished as a result of that. And
that's ridiculous.
Well, I think it goes with their prerogative, right? So they're, as I mentioned in my post, anyone who is trying to elevate the conversation around cigars and great tobacco is, a friend and something that we want to, help grow. And that said, the media, whether they're content creator or hard-hitting news or what have you, they're very much in the position where they need that story to blow up, and they need to get SEO back on it, and they need to be able to show that as value to go get sponsorship to
relevancy.
And in some way it's a cycle that they have to go through continuously, where I have to upgrade cameras, and I have to upgrade monitors, and I have to upgrade my SEO, and maybe I have to hire a guy for that, or I have to buy this software tool to help me with that. And so they need more and more of that. So you could see how they might not always appreciate getting fed news slightly behind the retailer. And Brandon, the sales guy, I mean, he just he gets told about stuff like a week after it happens. But and I'm not picking on Brandon, but I'm just saying, oftentimes the sales guy finds out after the article's already published, because and that's frustrating for him, as you can see. But it's equally, that's the hard divide here. So like I want to zero in on this. Brandon mentioned earlier about the excited retailer. He or she loves the esoteric knowledge or what have you about a cigar or project or something like that, and really wants to know that information. And then their hyper involved customer walks in and already knows something about a company that they carry or they've been working with for 4 or 5 months, and maybe the only information that they got about this new release or this new program that they're doing is an email, and so the retailer, even though you inform the retailer first, it can still feel like it's not broadcast loud enough to some of those retailers, and they can feel like they're behind the ball on some of this information. So yeah, so I think these are all just not entirely, but largely a result of just the new media landscape that we're all working on. And I'll tell you, even SEO shifts are detrimental to I mean, you and I talked about it earlier about how fragile TOS violations are on YouTube.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have a YouTube. Please subscribe, Domain Cigars on YouTube, and we're on Rumble as well. Shameless plug. But we actually don't smoke. I don't smoke in any of those videos, and it's a little bit of housekeeping that we don't smoke on there, because we don't know where the TOS is going in the future. And there are some big iconic retailers that have really good outreach on YouTube, and they can smoke all day on there and not have a problem. And so there's things like that are just so infuriating, and that's why I say I don't like it, but I understand why a media outlet would feel slighted by the idea that I'm going to communicate this on XYZ platform first, right? Whether it be email, carrier pigeon, what have you, before the actual media receives it. So I think that's a delicate balance. And look, there's one media outlet that that we made a donation to for a particular thing that they were trying to achieve, and we did so knowing that it would have really zero impact on our sales in a significant way. In fact, the number is not even publicly known, right? And it wasn't Coop, by the way. I just want to spell that out real quick. But no, it was another
Domain
company.
Cigars YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe.
Yeah. But they have a really good mix, and whenever you ask them about what is your click-through rate, ROI, all these types of things, a lot of cigar media doesn't really have a good way of presenting that to you. You don't know, and this is hypothetical. This is not by far the number, but let's say it's $10,000, $20,000, right? Those are pretty substantial numbers.
Those are big numbers.
Even in cigars, but think about it. I mean, they're going to go to the trade show. They're gonna ship out 4 people. 4 people covering the trade show these days. I mean, that's good luck. I mean, the trade show's so big.
About $1,500 a person if you're gonna put it in there, probably to $1 amount.
Yeah, I mean, so like if you look at it from that perspective, it's like, I want our media to thrive. I think it's a correlation in so many ways of how healthy cigars are overall, right? That this even be a advantageous thing for people to do with their time.
Correct.
But that said, if their fulfillment is so low, and I can't really tangibly tell what I get off of this sponsorship. I have no way of actually rating it. I'm just kind of making that investment in good faith.
Correct.
That
You're doing it more out of support than a return.
yeah, yeah. And in that group, by the way, does not do cigar reviews or anything like that. They don't individually engage in any of that. So,
well, I think one of the things that's missing that it's interesting, right? Because like we live in our own little worlds, right? So whatever you do, whatever your position or your role is in this, I think inherently people just tend to be self-focused, and they see the world from their box, right? So I can understand where media is coming from, with, I'll just call it the whining, um, whatever you want to call it. But and whining doesn't have to be negative necessarily either,
correct.
right? So I'm not saying
Squeaky
that
wheel
always in a
gets
negative
used.
context, but at the end of the day, there's nothing that makes my job more difficult and more frustrating than finding out from a media source that a company I represent is releasing a cigar. And there's nothing more embarrassing than walking into a shop or into a retailer and they go, "Hey, can I order some of this cigar?" And I go, "What are you even talking about?" And I have I mean, dude, I can't tell you the amount of times that that's happened to me.
Wow.
And so then how does that make me look? Because at the end of the day, I'll go back, we are a relationship business.
Mm-hmm.
There are retailers I can walk into and I say, "Hey, I now represent this brand," and they say, "Cool, we'll make shelf space for you," and they'll find a space for it because they want to support me. They know I support them, and they know that the brands that I represent are going to be good brands, right? They know I'm not just throwing whatever into my portfolio to try and make a dollar.
That's all your reputation.
It really
that
is.
does
It's
that.
and it sounds arrogant for me to say, but the reality is
true.
like that's my job as a broker,
Yeah.
is to establish relationships. What I own as a broker is the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so a manufacturer that understands that is a manufacturer that I want to partner with. But then a manufacturer says, "Hey, media, I'm coming out with this," and they don't inform me. Now they've done a great job of making me look like a fool. Fortunately, I have those relationships strong enough that they go, "Yeah, we understand." But not
Mhm.
everybody has that. And if this was my first year in the business and I'm establishing myself as a broker and trying to establish that reputation, and I now walk into a retailer and they say, "Can I buy this XYZ?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" Or even worse, like, "What's the blend, or what's the profile, or do you have samples?" They want to smoke it to see if they want to put it on their shelf. Because my job is to go and hand the retailer a cigar and say, "Hey, can you think of 5 people right now that would buy this cigar?" Or even like, "Hey, where would you price this cigar?" So like there's these questions that I need to be able to do in my job to help the brand to grow and to gain consumer confidence. So do I think media should be the first one to receive the information? I absolutely do not. I really don't. I think the media's role should be informing the consumer that this exists, but the retailer and the rep should know about the product before that, in my opinion, because then they go onto a show like this and they go, "Oh, Domain Cigars is releasing in Connecticut," and they go to their retailer and says, "Hey, do you have that Connecticut yet?" And he goes, "Man, I heard about that. My rep told me, and no, it's due to begin in whatever
Well,
March." I don't.
yeah.
That's not when you're releasing it. I don't know when it is, but hypothetical. All you
Well,
guys that are out here, that's not. I don't have insider information here. Stop it.
I mean,
The screen
it's not
didn't
that
come
far
up.
away.
The media screen didn't come up. This isn't breaking news.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I played devil's advocate on that too, though, Brandon, because there's right now, and I don't ask about these things. People, the social aspect, the stateside business is very much one of lounging and so on. And as I mentioned, when we make a donation to a media outlet, they do XYZ things and they need a camera for this, specific thing, right? And you decide to help them out there. They don't get anything extra special from us, but I can talk to a rep in a lounge, well, they got money from us, I guess, but for programming, but but I can talk to a rep in a lounge, for example, and like right now, I'm aware of releases that are coming out at the trade show of other companies, just because people will talk to me about it, and if for some reason they were sent packaging photos or something from their company, I've seen them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm quote unquote the competitor, I'm really not. I mean, I think we have such a small business overall. The whole business of cigars is some $13 odd billion, right? Which sounds like an awful lot, but of course, we were talking about AI earlier. Go look those numbers up. But
Open AI, I think it's close to $1 trillion. In value.
Yeah. So, let's see if they can make it. But if they can make it in revenue, I mean, I'll give them hats off to that, because that's bigger than Walmart, for example. I mean, in revenue. So, but the thing is, So again, like even in that context, like us as a company, when we want to help out a media company, we're not helping them out generally by giving them like exclusives or something. And in fact, I've told people this before, that the biggest mistake I ever made was giving a media company an exclusive, right? Because it just went horribly wrong, and it actually soured other media organizations on our deployment, of a project. I've done a lot of things in cigars, so
you're incredibly accomplished in the short time you've been in here. Just listening to you talk is like so well thought out. I mean,
that's Daniel Lance.
I mean, just listen to how you said it.
That's why I love the guy, man.
But I mean, whenever we work with, for example, I mean, going back to that donation we made, it's not, media is coin operated to an extent, and I've spoke about this previously. I think I spoke about this in 2024, because the same group of reps that will show me on their phone, like, oh yeah, we got this coming out, and no one knows we're doing this, and stuff like that. When that stuff happens, it doesn't. Media organizations aren't getting that same brief. I might get it as a manufacturer, but it's not one of those. It's not one of those scenarios where they're going out and sending it out to media, but maybe they're talking about it with a customer, and the customer anticipates that that's going to come out, and it doesn't for some reason.
Yeah.
And then that creates brand conflict. Whenever you help out a media organization, the anticipation is from even reps is that there's a pay for play for things like reviews. And I've spoke about this a couple of times, but I've never seen, and it's been said about this group of people so many times, I'll address it directly about Cigar Aficionado, for example. I've never once seen anyone, and this comes up every year, that there's a dollar amount to be on the top 10, right? That there's some spend level that you have to achieve to do that, because that is the list. You hit the top 10 on that list. I mean, you're going to have retailers you've never heard of calling you, right?
That's the Big Ten of college sports.
Oh, it's even worse when it gets leaked early.
Yeah.
Because then these retailers think they're sly. They're like, I'll take everything you have of this one product. You're like, why? Well, I just I believe in it, and I want to take. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah. So I'm trying to be delicate about how I talk about this, because I've never seen the number, right? If that were a true thing, and I actually don't believe it's a true thing. I believe that they genuinely have their opinions the same way as some other people that we've spoken about here this evening have about cigars. They have a different system of doing things, and that creates their list every year. That said, you are paying for your spot through your time, your engagement level, your leaving reps like Grande well prepared anytime, so they run into those individuals, and they always have a clean line to say about some new cigar that's well thought out. you are paying for it, but it is almost attendance based more than it is. Hey, this group needed a camera, and we really like the work that they do, so we're going to help them out with that, right? Or they're redoing this part of their studio, and we're going to help them out with that. That's not. I genuinely don't think that has a big impact. I think that's just part of being a good steward of the community in so many ways. And
that's just helping the industry, right? I mean, that's helping the industry. I mean,
yeah.
I think anytime you're a part of an industry, it should be your goal to build that industry. And if that means helping somebody out and getting nothing in return, that's what we should be doing as human beings, anyways. And if you find value in somebody, and that somebody needs some help them out, man. And you may get nothing in return. That's okay, because it helps the overall industry.
Yeah.
No, it does. It does. So
I can't tell you real quick. So for me as a broker, when I started this, I remember being able to call Gabriel Alvarez, who, God rest his soul. But I remember Cuevas was one of my first brands. And I'm looking at picking up other brands. I need to grow as a brokerage. I've got to pick up other brands. And Gabriel was one of those guys, and Luis Cuevas for that matter, that I can call and say, hey, what's the word around the water cooler about this guy? Like, what do you think of this brand? Do you think, because there is no book for dummies on this, right? And so it's like, I need help from people that have been around this a lot longer in this realm. And there was brands that he'd say, hey, man, dude, if you can land that brand, go get it. Or, hey, man, here's the problems that we've heard. Or, I know this guy personally. Work with him, don't work with him. And even down to, you already have XYZ cigars in your portfolio. This is going to compete against that. So, great guy, great company, but maybe not the best move for your company. And these are all things that are coming from another brand, another manufacturer helping me to grow, essentially bringing their competition into my portfolio.
Yeah.
But you do that because A, that's what our industry's about, and B, we're humans. We need to be able to help each other. I mean, if Daniel calls me one day, and I'm not Daniel's rep, but if Daniel calls me one day and says, hey, can you swing by this shop for me, or can you help me get into this place? Bro, of course. Yeah, how can I help, man? Right?
Yeah, it's a pretty common conversation, actually. Not between you and I, but between reps and companies, and and that's just as you articulated, being a good steward of
all the
the content. Real quick, the content creators that think of this as a partnership, right, have way more latitude with companies like us, and wanting to achieve something, whether they're looking at doing a new social media site, or looking at doing some type of new sponsorship or something like that, sponsoring a studio or something like that. They have way more latitude if they approach it as a partnership. And that's where I think some media that hasn't been as successful in the digital realm as you are, Ryan, I think that they've had a hard time with this, because a lot of their content has irritated the industry of cigars. And
well, some of them are, quite frankly, some of them are in it for the wrong reasons. I mean, if you're getting into the media space to be an entertainment media to get free cigars, so that you think the amount of people that have told me like how great my job is because I just get free cigars and drive around and like hang out in lounges all day, it's like, you clearly have no clue what this is. I mean, in all of next year, in the month of April, I will be home for 6 days.
Right.
Like, I already have that booked for April of 2026. I'm home for 6 days. You know what I mean? It's like, and I have 2 beautiful daughters at home. I have a lovely wife. Like, I have other stuff. I have my own YouTube channel that I need to be recording for, like all of this stuff. And I'm home for 6 days. So in that 6 days, I've got to spend time with my family. I've got to record for YouTube. I've got to do office work.
Recoup.
I've got to you don't get to do that, right? So like, this is the dirty of it. But like, if you get in it thinking like, oh, well, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm going to call Daniel and say, hey, send me some cigars. And Daniel's going to go, oh, awesome. Never heard of you. But you know what? Here's a bunch of free stuff. it doesn't work that way, and you're already into it for the wrong reason, and so you're
100%.
you're either not going to survive, or you're just going to complain.
Oh, I agree. I
Right.
mean, listen, when I started this show, it's 5 years in February. February the show will be on. This was never meant to be anything. People started glomming onto it, started watching it. Next thing you know, I had a company, Drew State, wanted to partner with me on it. But I've always made it very, like, understanding, like, you're not sponsoring the show. I literally want you as, like, a partner of the show. I don't think there's a single company that if you call up and ask, does Ryan ask for cigars? They say yes. Like, I never ask for anything. I tell them, I said, this is the partnership idea. Like, well, do you want cigars and stuff? I'm like, that's out of the kindness of your heart. Like, I'm not expecting anything out of anything. And I've actually found I've gotten more friendships in this, because the first question I used to get asked was, what do you want?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's not what I want. I want to partner with you. I want to do this together. You know.
Right.
And to be fair, that comes on my side too.
Oh,
Yeah,
no!
this is
The
what-
second
this is
you
what-
show up somewhere, it's give me a free cigar.
Well, no, but it's not even on that way, right? Like, yeah, we get that. And actually, there's a comment here right now that I was going to address in a second. But on my side of things, right, I have manufacturers reaching out to me constantly. Hey, we're looking for a rep in the territory. We've heard good things about you. You know, so clearly somebody lied. But you know, we would like you to represent our brand. Would you consider us? And I think it's kind of gotten sad, because the expectation is that the response is going to be, well, send me a bunch of cigars, I'll smoke through it, and then maybe we'll have a conversation. Because even on our side of it, that's how a lot of brokers are handling themselves. My response, and I just had this 2 days ago, my response is, hey, listen, right now my portfolio's full. I'm not looking on bringing on new brands. It would actually be a disservice to not only your brand, but to the other brands I represent if I were to bring on that brand, because I'm not going to be able to do the proper amount of work that I need to do and still be able to maintain my portfolio.
Correct.
So if you want to open a conversation, let's sit down and let's talk. We can see if there's a future opportunity. And his response was like, hey, man, I'd still like to send you some cigars.
Yeah.
If you'd like to do that, cool, man, that's on you. The last thing I need is more freaking cigars. But number two, like, I don't, unless I'm like open and looking to bring on your brand, like, I don't need to smoke them right now, right? And I'm not asking for them. I'm not a beggar. I don't.
But I guess maybe the idea behind it, though, is if somebody else comes up to you and says, have you heard of X brand? You can say, actually, I
Sure.
smoked them.
100%.
So maybe in that mindset,
No, then on them, I get that. So they want to send the cigars, and I think part of that, honestly, is the respectful response that I have. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but like, this is, I think, how a lot of like, and you handle it this way. Your respectful response of just like, hey, man, I don't expect anything. I just want you on my show. I want to be able to share your story.
Yeah.
Versus, I want your cigars. I need to fill my humidor because I'm empty. Send me a box and I'll promote you on my, 5 people that are watching my channel because I started it yesterday. It's like,
Yeah.
Well,
You're
Daniel got
getting at-
perfect. Daniel got a perfect example of
well,
he
it's a perfect
teased you at the very
example.
beginning.
I was busting
goes,
your
"Where's
balls
our
before you.
Dominion cigars?" And I looked at him and go, "I don't ask for cigars from people."
I told him, I said, "Where's my domain cigar to smoke, bro?" And he's just like, "I don't ask for them." Like,
I don't ask. Like, if Daniel would have said, "Hey, let me send you some," I'd be like, "I much appreciate it," but I intend on smoking the portfolio. I intend on going through them, but
Appreciate it. I hope you like it.
I'm sure I will. I know a lot of people that do that I trust. But like, it's very similar. Like Daniel, I'm sure, goes on shows and people are like, I need a 5-pack, or I need a box, or we need to do this. So, that's not the way I like to do, because then you get known as a beggar, and then you get known as, if I come on your show, I'm in it for at least a 5-pack. Like, I don't want that. It's not the experience I want.
So is the partnership, dignified unity,
Yeah.
or is it a sales pitch?
yes.
Where I have to go do 5 or 10 things, and now I'm in your good graces. So
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I want to kind of pivot here.
I want to address Paul real quick.
Okay,
So I
go
see
ahead.
this comment here. He says, sat with a rep for about an hour. Clearly told him I buy boxes 3 to 5. I enjoy sticks. Not one offer of a sample. And he goes on and says other stuff, right? Just to clarify something real quick to everybody, and Paul, this is just informative. On our end, it is literally illegal for me to give you a sample.
Yeah.
So the FDA has ruled, because it used to be back in the day that reps came in like Santa Claus and they just handed out samples. We were like Oprah, you get a cigar, you get a cigar.
Making it rain.
Now, are there shops that I can go and I can give samples to people? Certainly, I have to do it in a legal way, because the shop owner can give a sample to
Correct.
a customer.
And I've seen you do that with Sean.
I cannot.
Here's a few cigars, go give them to you.
Yeah, and so like I will, because I have morals, and I feel like if you start breaking laws, like where do you stop, right? And so if the FDA has said that you can't do this, I will, if the shop is okay with it, say, hey man, here's a box. If you have customers that you'd like to share this with so you can get opinions, feel free. The other thing, so as a rep, I can't give you a sample, right? By law, I'm not allowed to do that. Now, it doesn't mean that all reps abide by that. It doesn't happen, whatever, yada, yada. Now, as a rep, also, Paul, my response to you would have been, well, if you'd like to buy a box today, I'll be happy to give you a spiff, which I can legally do. Say, hey, man, I appreciate that you love our cigars, man. I think that's great. If you pick up a box, I'll give you 5 free cigars, right? So, like, my job is still to help to ring the register for the retailer and to promote the brands that I represent, and I can use those samples in order to do that. But just to be clear, I can't walk in and just give you a sample. That's a legal obligation I have as a rep, that I can't do that.
Which is dumb, because I could go to Costco and drink all the liquor samples they're testing away and drive home. From Costco.
Well, but you have to
But
understand
it's
you have to
dumb.
understand the
It's
FDA's position on this, right? Because certainly that cigar that Daniel's smoking right now was going to be his last one, but I now promoted smoking by giving him another one while he's sitting in a cigar lounge filled with smoke, buying more cigars. It makes
That's
no
his
sense.
choice as an adult.
It makes no sense. But at the same time, I think that law has actually been helpful, because it gives me a reason to be able to support my brands and to support the shops better. Because if I walk in and I give everybody in that lounge a cigar, that's one less cigar that they're buying from that lounge.
Yep.
That needs those purchases in order to turn on the lights and have heat and cold areas, or air conditioning in hot areas, to have good ventilation, to build forward filtration. All the things that you look forward to in a lounge are provided by the purchase of your cigar. And if there's 40 people in that lounge and I walk in and hand out 40 cigars, that's 40 less cigars that are being purchased by consumers in
You
that
figure
lounge.
that's $400.
Whatever it
is,
is, wherever
baseline
you are.
$10. That's $400. That
Whatever that equates
guy's
to
not
wherever
making
you
that
are.
day. That's a lot of money to lose in a day. for
And
a
at the
shop.
same time, that's 40 less cigars that Domain Cigars has sold. Domain Cigars has 150 people they need to pay. He has, a field that needs to be watered, all of these things. So there's bills that have to be paid. And I can't give away 3 M&Ms in a cup like Costco can. I have to give away a whole cigar,
Yeah.
right? And so that's an hour and a half of somebody consuming everything the lounge provides that wasn't paid for.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually appreciate that law. Looking at the grand scheme of things, I actually appreciate that, because I think it's actually in a way helped the manufacturer and the retailer to be able to be profitable.
To be in sync. And to your point, 3Ds does this. 3Ds posts on 3Ds in Colorado Springs, posts on their shop door. Daniel, you might appreciate this. A breakdown of all of their expenses and why they don't allow outside cigars and what they have to pay before that humidor that you're walking into is actually making them money.
Which I love, because they have a sign on their door.
That.
They have a sign on their door that says no outside cigars.
Yeah.
And I love it every time, because I bring outside cigars.
Well, you're also
But on the rep.
for it.
So
Yeah.
I'm the exception. I get to break the rules, but I roll in with my case with 300 cigars in it, and I'm
But
like,
see,
I'm
like-
bringing outside cigars.
But see, like every once in a while, like I don't push that. Like Chris has let me in there with stuff, but I always go in there. I'll buy 3 or 4 at a time. So like
Yeah.
I'm always support. Anytime I go into a shop, I'm in it for at least 2 to 4 cigars, and then maybe even an extra one to buy, to smoke while I'm there. So here's Sean.
Yeah. So with Paul, he did lose an opportunity by handing the cigar to the customer to try. You're giving them a chance to experience something they may not have planned. Blah, blah, blah. And Sean, if I may, Sean is one of those that's really good about it. Sean understands very well that the consumer needs to try cigars that they may not purchase at some point. They want to try it. So Sean is one of those shops that I can go into, and I can hand him some cigars, and he has the customers that he trusts, or that are his good customers that are constantly spending money, whether they get a free cigar or not. He knows that customer base. I don't. I don't know who's the mooch in the shop and who's the big spender. I don't. So when I go into Sean's, I was actually at Sean's today, Smoking Cave. I was up
Where
there.
this show got launched, by the way. Love you, Sean.
Yeah, Sean's awesome. I love Sean, and I was in his shop today, and some of his consumers got to sample a cigar that I had, but that came at the hands of Sean, and I leave that in his hands. Now, does the consumer know that that came from me? Sure, but legally I changed possession to Sean, and then Sean gives that out to the consumers that he wants to try that cigar. I need to leave that in his hands. That can't be up to me. And back to Paul, like he says, that he had an opportunity to give it legally. I agree. And you know what, dude? That rep, unfortunately, I think lost a great opportunity to build an amazing relationship and to show something for you. And obviously, it affected the brand. And that's where brand owners like Daniel have to be cognizant of what their reps are doing. It's important for Daniel to be on the road to see how the reps are handling the retailers that he supplies. And to help coach that. Not every rep understands that. They get stingy with their stuff for whatever reason or whatever it be.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that you had that experience. And my feedback to you as a rep myself that's made mistakes, please don't hold that experience from your rep against that brand. That rep was hired by that brand, and that brand may not know
The experience
at this point the experience that you're receiving and representing that brand. So don't hold that against that brand specifically would be my only feedback or my only request of you, because there's amazing brands that unfortunately have some poor representation, and it takes time for them to figure that out. And that's nothing against anybody. It just is what it is, and that's part of what we have to discover.
Yeah. I want to kind of pivot here
Love you too, Sean.
because I would be.
You're a beautiful human being.
Love you, Sean. Love this man.
Sean was teaching me English today, by the way.
This show would not exist without Sean. Sean gave me the very first opportunity to be a part of and shooting my show there. So forever, will always be grateful to Sean. But I want to kind of pivot because I would be remiss with having you on, Daniel, and not bringing up the tariff situation.
There's no tariff situation. What are you talking about?
So you actually recorded, I think it was a recording of a video where you talked about the tariffs. You talked about how there actually isn't a child labor issue. There isn't all the stuff that is being floated around out there on the mainstream media side. And for those of you that really follow, a lot of the tariff situation, from what I understand, is Chinese involvement with Nicaragua and the U.S. trying to stop some of that involvement. And please correct that record if I am wrong in that. But so I'll give the floor to you. So what's with the tariffs? Why are you applying them?
So there's two. Well, I'm not doing that. But there's really two conversations happening right now. So we have the reciprocal tariff that was put on Nicaragua at 18%, and the universal tariff is 10. So Nicaragua has a reciprocal higher, which we believe to be a misunderstanding of how taxes are actually collected here and how our tax code actually works. My employees, for example, they don't pay individual income taxes. I do that for them. So at the end of the year, they don't go and make a filing and all that kind of stuff. I do all that filing on their behalf. So it's not like the States where they have to guess at the end of the year and how much do I owe and all this kind of stuff. So there seems to be a pretty dramatic misunderstanding with the reciprocal tariff. Now, that is the president's use of something called IPPEA, which is an emergency power that he can invoke to regulate.
Now that might be restricted by the Supreme Court, though. That
correct.
specific
tariff. So that particular tariff right now is at the Supreme Court. There's a company called VOS Selections Inc. and Learning Resources, which have a combined case now that is at the Supreme Court. And all other cases have been stayed until there is a decision around this. The administration agreed on that. Learning Resources and VOS Selections agreed on that. Now, what that means for us is that could be going away. Supreme Court arguments were on the 5th, very favorable for us dismantling that tariff. Now,
Correct.
it does present a problem with refunds,
Yeah.
and refunds are a mess, and that was actually spoken
That was
about.
talking about at SCOTUS, yeah.
That exact verbiage was used actually at SCOTUS. Because it is not a class action. So individuals that are attempting to get tariff relief could be hindered in doing so without a class action starting thereafter. We as a brand did not raise our prices. So we absorbed the 18% reciprocal, and we did so with good faith that this would be a temporary action, as we do not believe that Nicaragua should or could be lawfully tariffed, given the free trade agreement that the United States and Nicaragua has. So a little bit unprecedented that this went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court accepted the case. So inside of that, we could see that be removed. Now, as far as how refunds will work and all that good stuff, that's going to be a bit of a kerfluffle, because what they have something at CBP called Customs and Border Protection called liquidation. So normally you have about a rolling year to call back any or it's not called a protest, but basically to get a refund on an amendment to an import. So they would be able to refund that tariff that we've paid, right? The issue is that if they do something called liquidation, where they actually close out that account, as the president is suggesting today, closing out those accounts would allow him to put that money into the federal budget and distribute it as a tariff refund check to individuals, which he suggested he would be doing a $2,000 stimulus check to people that are making less than $100,000. I don't know how people that make over $100,000 were less impacted by the tariff, but they
probably
somehow
more impacted by the tariff.
Far more impacted, yeah.
Because
I don't know what type of internal analysis they've made to say that that's the right thing to do. The issue with that is if they lose the Supreme Court case, then the only avenue post liquidation that would make sense to get this money back to the importer of record would be something called a protest. So if they run a protest, and again, this is where I always have to specify to people, because people get really excited about everything that I say on this topic. I'm not your lawyer. I'm not your counsel. Call them, talk to them. We have our own people. We have our own experts. I talked to my importer literally tonight about all of these matters. So talk to your people and determine what's best for your business. But what would likely happen is if a protest of the tariff is accepted, and it will be if the Supreme Court does determine that these were levied illegally, as the IEPA does not suggest that you can assert revenue against countries that you view as needing regulated due to a security risk. What would end up occurring is that in protest, companies would be eligible for interest on the money that they've paid.
a lot of money.
So interest on what would now be about $184 billion or so that they've collected and rising. We're about to go into our largest import season here, so it's going to go even higher, probably close to 200 billion or more. They would be eligible for interest rates at IRS interest rates, which are currently around 7%. So that would mean that they would have to pay an additional 7% to companies, and they would have to pay the 7% based on when the check is actually cut against the protest. The protest mechanism at CBP is not very robust, so this could take a year or more to process these refunds. So this is a gigantic windfall for a lot of importers. Now, how do they distribute that back to me having used their services, and then how do I enrich it to my customers? Well, I absorbed it, so that is, factually my money that I've paid. It is a loss of revenue.
Yeah, you
for
helped
me.
your customers by not spreading that cost.
I shielded them from the cost, yeah,
Correct.
but many brands did not. So the other concern that you launched this conversation with is another Title 19.
Yeah.
So Title 19 is what is used in Border Patrol to give the president or the executive powers to regulate imports, tariff imports, and also gives them the ability to investigate. So under Title 19, there's something called a 301. 301 is a security investigation into a country, and that is a country as a whole. Instead of embargoing the country, which the president does have an ultimate power to do, a 301, you launch an investigation. This investigation was launched by the Biden administration more than a year ago. The investigation outcome was just recently published, and that investigation cited that they were under the belief that there was drug trafficking, human trafficking, and issues with migratory labor among child labor and things of that nature. Tobacco as an agricultural category was named in that, which we found to be completely untruthful. We're very curious. It's only about 40 pages that they've released in regard to this as to who they spoke to and how they came to these determinations. We do not feel that the report is genuine. It does appear to be a report that is written with the interest of political outcomes as opposed to the interest of American citizens and our need for a fair marketplace in the United States. So we immediately published a video. You can see the video that we put out. As far as outcome, we didn't elaborate to what the outcome for the cigar business or the cigar industry would be in that video. That video is up on YouTube, Domain Cigars on YouTube. You can go check it out there.
Shameless plug.
Make sure you subscribe.
Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Well, with that, we immediately published that when the Reuters article came out. The proposal for USTR to the executive is that the outcome of the 301 investigation be 100% tariff on Nicaraguan imports. That is on the landed cost. That means if the landed cost, for example, is $2, 100%, it goes to $4, and you're paying that with currently, if that were to happen tomorrow, which it could because the comment period is now over. The comment period ended on the 19th of this month here in November. They could assert that plan at any time. USTR recommended for a phase-in or an immediate tariff starting in January. Of course, they have the ability to create avenues where tobacco, the harmonized tariff code for tobacco, which is 2402, and all other sections under 2402 be exempt from this. And we encourage, of course, that they do so. You can see our comments publicly on the USTR's open comment period. And we recommended that if they were to ignore this, that a low cap and slow phase-in be utilized to not create a disruption. And the low cap that we recommended was very low, as we saw that 18% already created a dramatic slowdown in our business and frankly affected our ability to grow and access American markets. So it is a very serious issue. We take human rights abuses very seriously. Now, the legitimacy of what was said in those reports, I feel like the perpetrators need to be confronted. And I can tell you from working intensely and closely with the Nicaraguan government here, they are also very curious as to who was investigated and how these outcomes were, without speaking for them, of course, how these outcomes were determined, because I have no doubt that with a look, when you're a Christian socialist country, as we are here in Nicaragua, socialism is not my cup of tea. I'm a proud American. I live and I work in this society. It's the government that the people here have overwhelmingly selected and selected multiple times over. It works for them, and I don't know why we wouldn't respect that as a country that is very dependent on democracy ourselves. But the proposition that these things are happening, we find to be ludicrous. As per quarter, I have 3 different audits at a minimum that I have to undergo. We have our DGA, which is like our version of IRS, that does their own inspections. We have our own Social Security inspections. That's called the INSS. We have multiple groups that audit these factories, and being in a 301 economic zone here, 302 economic zone, sorry. Here, we're in the position where we're regularly inspected by our own government. So I offered to our own government a full account of our own records. I offered those to all of our trade organizations, including PCA and CAA, that they could have all of our records to help support their argument. That said, I mean, it is a very serious thing. I can't elaborate massively on what's happening here on the ground in regards to the United States interest. But I want to thank everyone who did put in comments on the USTR's open comment period. Typically, USTR's open comment period, they might receive 100 comments is like a really good one. This particular comment period received almost 2,000 comments.
Wow.
So we had an overwhelming reaction from the cigar community, from the textile community, from beef and agriculture here, saying that this is entirely wrong. That the report needs to be investigated itself. Who wrote it and who was spoken to. That was a theme that was repeated many times over. Yeah, a lot of good, respectful comments, some not so much. Some were entirely ChatGPT generated, and they even had like the prompt that they used. Like one guy copied the prompt that he used to write his. Anyway, I thought that was hysterical.
Oh, that's funny.
And so yeah, there is. I do want to let everyone know at least this, that there is an interest from the United States right now in working with some of the factories here to better understand what might have been misunderstood. There is a minimum legal working age here in Nicaragua of 14 years old. We actually audited ourselves. The youngest employee that we have is actually here in the factory at 17 years old. There is parental consent and things of that nature that we have to mind. I would say that at 17 years old, that is I was working at 12-year-old.
I was going to say I was working before I was 14.
My daughter had 3 jobs at 16.
Yeah, so I find that to be astonishing if they were pointing that out. The report, though, said something like 9 to 12 years old that they were auditing those age ranges. And I find that to be, really out there. Because the thing is, I mean, even, for example, with our brokerage, right, where we process tobacco, we're close enough to the city today, and the calculation has been favorable so far where we haven't had to do this. And I don't want to put any particular factory or brand or anything on blast. That's not what I'm here for. But we even have laws here inside of our labor code that if you do agriculture and it's far enough away from the city and you have 30 or more employees that all have children under a certain age, you're actually obligated to help subsidize education for them and build schools. You're obligated by law to do those things. So we have a very robust labor code here that is well regulated. As far as impact, you know, it would be very decimating, and I think it has already had a souring effect for a great many of factories. As I mentioned earlier, there's some old 30 some odd companies that have brands, factories here in Esteli. There's 87 or so in total, give or take, and I would say that almost 20% now of those that don't have a brand attached directly to them have already seen customers canceling orders. And those are generally cigar companies that are producing, you know, 10,000 or less cigars per production run. Many of them have already started canceling orders, which has already led to a great number of factories shutting down early and furloughing and laying off employees early here in the Valley. So, you know, which is not in the best interest of the United States, as this will likely cause a migratory problem in Central America, as those families need to seek out labor somewhere in order to make a living.
And I also had heard that the another huge downside of it is that the SCOTUS overturn has nothing to do with the 100%. The SCOTUS overturn. So the reality is, if SCOTUS overturn doesn't happen and the 100% goes in, you're at 118%.
Correct.
Because it's not that it taps out at 100; it adds both.
Yeah, they're stackable. So a 301 is stackable to the IEPA.
Yeah.
So the other tool that the executive has under Title 19 is something called a 232, and 232 does require an investigation. It's not generally as robust as a 301 investigation period, is my current understanding. I could be incorrect on that. But we kind of always foreseen that if the IEPA decision was overturned, that we would be facing a 232 at some point. Now, a 232 is you have to target specific tariff codes, so automotive or agriculture, and that's why a 301, you know, this 301 landing after a years-long investigation, having such a negative outlook on, you know, a country that I've called home for 6 years, and I've not seen any of that. I mean, I know the guy that runs the gold mine. You know, his name's Baruch, and I'm sure he's beside himself. I haven't talked to him recently about this. I think all of us have been under a lot of pressure to try to inform the United States to help figure this out. Yeah, it would be massively devastating to a good source of tobacco and devastating to our community. So this is without getting into CAFTA. So CAFTA DR, which is our Central American treaty with the United States. If Nicaragua were to be removed from that treaty, there's a security exception criteria that had previously not been challenged. A 301 directly challenges the security exception criteria. So I actually speak about that a little bit on one of those YouTube videos. And if that were to happen,
he's been an amazing source on this. His videos have been, in my opinion, the best explanation of all of this that's going on while he's lighting his cigar.
Yeah.
He has, guys, if you're remotely interested in learning really about this, he goes into it a lot more in depth in his videos. But for him not being a fucking lawyer, he's doing pretty good. He's doing a 301, 30. I'm lost in the numbers, but you know your shit, dude. Well, so genuinely.
We had to study a lot of this, and we were looking at opening some merchant services in the United States. So we had already had several contacts built up before all this occurred. But thank you for that. But I mean, really, again, I'm just trying to inform people of what we're seeing, what we're hearing.
But that's why you're doing a great job at it, is because you're not adding opinion to it. You're literally just laying out the case and you're letting
Yeah.
the public decide from there.
And that's why they should subscribe to Domain
To
Cigars,
Domain
on
Cigars
YouTube.
on YouTube. Absolutely.
So,
But
so
no, it's Paul. You had brought up a question about what's the interest of the Biden administration to see cigars fail. Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's got anything to do with cigars fail. What he's
Doesn't
specifically talking about is externalities within Nicaragua that are causing a potential security concern. The tariff, the 18%, you could kind of play it as that, but that's on the country specifically. This has much more to do with the security thing, which is why SCOTUS decision cannot overturn this. I don't think there is a pathway for SCOTUS to have this overturned.
So you're really spot on there, right? And so with 301, typically the SCOTUS is going to give, Supreme Court of the United States is going to give deference to the president when asserting questions of security or national security, as that is the primary job of the executive.
Correct.
So there's not going to be a lot of challenges that we can really go after here on a 301. You might as well be facing an embargo. But of course, nobody wants to see that happen, and particularly under such, low caliber reporting, and it does appear to be something of there appears to be something clandestine in nature that is being gotten at here. Without getting too much into my personal opinions at this and what else is happening in South America and the strategic position that Nicaragua represents, you can read between the lines there. That said, the things that are being alleged here, and this is I talked about this actually on another live stream I did with one of my retailers. There's been a big preference to name Nicaragua as a regime or something like that, and that is conversation coming directly out of intelligence briefings with reporters and things of that nature. That's not how any American talks about another democratically elected government. It's not generally that is a fed thing. They're being fed that way of thinking about this country that they don't know all that much about. And if their only rationale from it is that, hey, I get cigars from there that I really like, and I'm going to try to speak to this topic, which is quite complex and alleges some pretty horrific things. Everyone would agree with that, but is that genuine, or is that being named as a prerogative? And is that prerogative going to damage the businesses of thousands of retailers in the United States? And I believe that if the outcome of the 301 is that the executive decides to take action without an exemption, that damage will be massive.
No, I agree. And Paul, I don't think you misspoke at all. I think there's a lot of moving parts here that are very confusing. Well, again, and that a lot of people are still trying to understand as well. So I don't think you misspoke at all.
And I think, again, we live in our own little bubble a lot of times, right? So, most people are hearing about this Nicaragua thing because they're in the cigar industry.
Mm-hmm.
So typically in our mind, we just aim this tariff directly at solely the cigar industry and don't realize the overall impact of the entire country and all the other exports and everything that come with it.
Oh, for sure.
It's, and again, not an offensive statement, but it's kind of a narrow-minded thinking of, and that's kind of that's a lot of times how we tend to do that, right? Because we think in our bubble, right? I live in this world, I understand these things, and so this is going to affect me in this world.
Sure.
But it affects so much more than just this world, and Daniel even touched on it. These people lose their jobs, they need to seek income somewhere.
They migrate out.
So now they migrate out, which now not only affects potentially families getting harmed in the migration process, right? Which we've seen, with our borders. People trying to attempt to cross the deserts, and desperation starts happening.
Yeah.
And then you have an exodus from a country, which affects now the taxation, that affects the overall well-being of that country. and their ability to be, as a socialist country, the ability to be able to help or provide for the citizens of that country.
Mhm.
Because less revenue for the country means less revenue that can be handed out to
Well,
help other people.
Correct.
and
And,
I
and
and you
we're the magnet. So when shit hits the fan, people migrate here because it doesn't hit the fan here, or at least they try to.
They tried to.
They try to. But so
Yeah.
that's a very valid point too, Daniel. That could start a whole new migration path if that happens.
Yeah, so sorry, I can't see the chat. I have it zoomed in on
Oh,
you
you're
guys.
okay.
See who I'm talking to, so I can't see what everyone's talking about. But so you touched on a point there. Is it's not myopic in that it's just going to be Nicaragua that's affected. Currently, today, we sell more than 400,000 pounds of tobacco per year to the Dominican Republic, to producers there that turn that into cigars that you love and enjoy as well. If we are removed from CAFTA here in Nicaragua, then you lose something called cumulation. And what cumulation does is whenever I send that tobacco to the Dominican Republic, if it has Nicaraguan components in it, and Nicaragua is no longer has cumulation under CAFTA, then whatever percentage of the final product is from Nicaragua will have to be at whatever that tariff rate is under the 301 if cumulation is lost under CAFTA.
So what you're saying is you can't ship it to DR, make the cigars there, and avoid the tariff because it's the origin country.
And not only that, under accumulation now, and this isn't currently done by all importers, but under accumulation now, for example, if I import U.S. grown Connecticut broadleaf here to Nicaragua, as I do with my Entropy blend, currently I basically get no tariff going into the United States. But if I lose accumulation in the future and I lose CAFTA in the future, then I actually have to pay 100% of the tariff even on the U.S. goods that I import here. So my packaging, my labels, everything like that, that could be itemized at some project in the future, I might have to also pay the tariff at whatever that rate ends up being if it were to happen. So this affects supply chains not only in Nicaragua, it affects Costa Rican cigars dramatically. It affects Honduran cigars dramatically, and it impacts, I would say, nearly half of your Dominican cigars, as Nicaragua is the largest dark-cured tobacco producer currently in Central America.
And for you, we had talked about this pre-show. You're kind of catching shrapnel. You're an unintended consequence because this is going to affect you big time too.
I mean, and it already has. I mean, I'm already seeing it just in the numbers and all the things, and it's. I mean, look at here, just in the state of Colorado, and we can see how cigar sales have been affected in the state of Colorado by the progressively increasing tax here.
62%.
And I'm looking at my data just from the state of Colorado alone, and I'm just watching the numbers go down. And of course, I go, well, what am I doing wrong? How can I boost this? And then I talk to other reps and other companies, and they go, yeah, this is happening Colorado-wide amongst all companies.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's not a me problem. So where is the problem? Well, you start getting priced out of the market, right? Because it gets just so expensive. And it becomes overwhelming. And then the consumer gets mad at the shop or at the brand, and that can affect brand loyalty, shop loyalty.
Yep.
Then where do I go? Oh, I can buy online. Whatever. It just has this grandiose effect that it's that ripple effect that people don't understand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because as an end consumer, you just see a price.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily know where the price comes from, and then you go, oh, well, cigar brand A is just being greedy, and they're trying to take, or shop X is just being greedy, and they're trying to take, and it's like, no, this started all the way at the very beginning.
Well, and this could be we might have to cover this topic on our next show.
Yes, we will.
but this could actually be a topic for a whole other show. Is that I've seen a propensity amongst customers, and now I try to put out a reasonable product at a good price point. Most of our MSRPs are going to be $10, $15, now, we have a large stack of people to support in doing so. We've grown a lot this year despite all of these hurdles. But we're closing in on Q4, end of Q4 here, and I can tell you, even with all the growth that we've done, we're still looking at a negative percentage after we look at the factor that we absorbed the tariff so far. So,
which is astonishing. I mean, like, realistically,
yeah.
let's be realistic about this, because like that's, and a lot of people, they don't operate their own companies, so they don't really, in the first few years of operating a business, and a successful business, one that you're actually doing well at, it becomes a little difficult to gauge numbers, right? Because you're gaining new customers, you're bringing on new product, all these things are affecting. So you can say, oh man, I've had all this growth, I've had all this. Well, eventually it plateaus out, and you start getting a smaller growth, and you're not looking at a 50% growth year over year. You're excited about a 5 or 10% growth. So as a young company, as Domain Cigars, you're still in that growth phase of where you should be seeing a lot larger numbers, and for you to say that it's going to be a negative percentage, I think even more drastically shows just the effect of this, because an average company should see a 5 to 10% growth every year over year on a standard year. I mean, COVID was the non-standard year. We saw these spikes, right? It was this weird spike. But Daniel, as a young company, should be seeing 30, 40% growth.
Sure.
Right? Because there's new acquisitions, and you plant, your first year you were in 100 shops. Now this year you're in 400 shops, and that's that first order is always much larger than the reciprocal orders coming after that, right?
Sometimes,
typically, right? Because one to show, one to go, fill the shelf space. Now, what did we sell through? I got to reorder what I sold through, which typically is a smaller order, right?
And added maybe a couple extra boxes.
Yeah, because you're catching up to the sell-through rate.
Well,
so
sorry, go ahead.
No, so I think to me, to hear that from you is actually, in a weird way, kind of relieving for me, because I see my numbers and it's like, where am I screwing up? But then I hear that a new company is also experiencing this as a company as a whole. Shows me that this is it's an industry problem. It's not a Brandon problem.
Well, we had nothing but growth ahead of us when we launched the company in 2024, and that benefited us massively, of course. And that we did 24 was a difficult year. 25 was proven to be a difficult year. Now with 25, I would say that it is dramatically worse, as I've heard. One pretty large firm laying off 60 pairs of workers. That's 120 people there, and 60 pairs. That's
it's 120 people.
Seeing that happen. I mean, I'm aware of another factory in the valley that is laying off people in addition to closing early, and so the fact that our negative percentage right now, and I'll just tell you what it is, 2%. It's 2% in the whole on the company now. Up until 6 months ago, I was up 45%. So I think that should tell you the economic impact.
That's a big cut. That's a big cut in. That's not a shovel. That's a fork. That's a front end loader.
Backhoe.
That's a backhoe dig for sure.
That's a big one. But whenever you regularly send 10 and 20,000 plus cigars to the United States per month, and you have those tariffs hitting you every time, and you have to expect that the spending all around of Americans has also been affected, not simply by tariffs, but by a various number of economic issues. I'm not your economist. I make things out of leaves for a living, folks. So I'm not the guy to come to on that.
But not just economy, but also fear. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've also seen times where, like, and I think we're partially in that, but like, there's been a lot of fear, because of just all the rigmarole and all the political crap and all the stuff that's going on. Sure. And again, like, I don't want to get into politics of it all, because that's that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
But when
Right.
you have such a strong divide, and kind of going back to our whole media topic, when you have news, it's no longer actually being news; they're being opinion. Right, it's opinion news that everybody's watching, and what side of the aisle are you on? And now it creates all this division, and there's a fear mongering that's going on. Now people are afraid to spend, and it creates a fear in people to spend money that they may have because, okay, well, I learned last time, and now I need to hold on to these dollars versus spending them, and
Well,
for fear that this happens or
It
things get
stifles
more
investment.
expensive, or to be able to invest in this.
Yeah.
well, I want to go back to the second point of what I launched on about why this could be a second show entirely. I've seen a propensity for customers to blame the brand versus the retailer taxation or tariff around pricing, and I'm of the opinion that brands have brought it on themselves because of this one factor that some will appreciate, some won't. But I make a reasonably priced product at $10 to $15, and I employ a lot of people in dignified work to do that. Right? I have other people in the valley that are doing great work, I'm sure, and they're somehow putting out what is conceptually and sometimes even realistically the same product, but they're putting it out under their brand at $50 and $100 per cigar. So when you have a massive wave over the last 5 years where pricing has gotten so out of control, where the Rob Report side of the business has really started to take hold in a really interesting way, where most of our consumer base is still blue jeans, car and driver, which again, there's no critical critique here. If you like the $50 or $100 cigar,
half of them are Auto Trader, bro.
That's actually pretty funny. But when brands have so regularly and routinely now put out those cigars, and they're not smashing reviews, they're not smashing boundaries on what can be done with tobacco. I mean, I remember a time, speaking of that again with reviews, I remember a time 15 years ago or so when it was entirely common for you to pick up a cigar off the shelf and for me to smoke that cigar and have very few tasting notes afterwards. It's just it smoked like a cigar, and I like to think that I have an okay palate, but today, even in reviews, you see multiple flavor note,
Peach cobbler.
Right?
Dude,
and
it's brutal.
Seal blubber.
But what I
blubber.
but
What's a non-virgin seal blubber taste like?
But even with that, with those cigars coming in, and not being the most well regarded, they're moving off the shelf at a decent rate. They're commanding higher prices, and it's very easy, I think, for a consumer that 95% of people don't smoke every day. They smoke, they're cigar smokers, but they're about proximity. If I'm around the cigar shop, or if I'm at this event, or I'm going to go fishing, or I'm going to go whatever. So there are a lot of proximity and event-based folks, and it's very easy for them to understand that the pricing is coming from the brand, when the actualities of it is, I have some retailers, and we have a minimum advertised price, right? So
you guys do MAP pricing?
Yeah, we do MAP of 10%, right?
Okay.
And we think that's fair because that's where a lot of people will place boxes and so on.
Yep.
Is at a 10% discount. So that said, I have some retailers that for whatever reason, I have Toros, and they're charging $18 and $20 for them, and they're getting it. They're getting it from their customers. Is that going to taxation? Not in those states. I know what those taxes are like in that state.
That also hurts you as a brand owner.
But do they have the $1 million lounge? Oftentimes, no. Oftentimes that's not the case. They don't have the lounges like they do in Dubai and stuff like that. And again, I'm not meaning for this to be a referendum on retailers either, but I think retailers and brands have a situation, and Brandon, I'm sure I'll have some thoughts on this, where they're at odds with each other about how things are priced and how things move off the shelf. And do we as brands have a lot of really good data that suggests, for example, if someone carries my whole suite, I know that they're going to sell 40% more cigars, right? They're going to do 10%, 20% better, but they could do 40%. Right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say I know they're going to be at 40% more, but they're going to do a heck of a lot better, and on average, they might even hit that number pretty routinely. It's brand recognition, presence on the shelf, identifiable in the humidor, and they always have a size that's really close to what they want to smoke. That's why my line has 22 different cigars and 3 blends, which people think is a little nutty. But it works. People want something really close to what they already were intending on smoking, and if they're going to get on a new brand, they're going to try out the one that you just brought in 18 boxes of.
Yeah.
So the thing is with that, it's very easy for the brand to have enough data to suggest what the retailer should be doing, and it's really easy for the retailer to ignore that and bring in Toros, and you get blown off the shelf, and then it's your fault that you didn't have Brandon driving around, spending gas, not seeing his family for 6 months, to go collect what is oftentimes a $500 and $600 order.
Yeah.
And that is a question of how long does that continue to go on whenever we are facing now more than ever. And I don't care if you make Dominican cigars, I don't care if you make Nicaraguan cigars. We are facing a complete supply chain slowdown like the cigar industry as a whole has never actually seen. And even bigger than the Cuban exodus, right? We can touch on that too. Do either of you guys know the actual number of imports of cigars and tobacco from Cuba in 1961 to the United States versus what was sold in the United States?
Well, we know it was boosted because JFK got like 5 pallets at the end. So that
Right.
I'm sure inflated the numbers, but it had to be a pretty good amount.
So it was about 10%. It was about 10% of the U.S. market, right? So you think about that. Well, why are Cuban cigars so well known to us as being the definition of a cigar? I can tell you why is because what ended up occurring was that was your drugstore, grocery store cigar. So if I asked you to walk up to somebody just on the street, they're not a cigar person, and you ask them, hey, do you know about Domain cigars? They're going to go, what? Probably not, And if you ask them, hey, do you know about Swisher Sweets? Do you know about, Phillies, right? They're going to go, yeah. So imagine now that Swisher Sweets and Phillies and those products for some reason just cease to be on the shelf anymore. So that's what created the optic of this. Now, the Cuban tobacco was the inexpensive tobacco. The American tobacco was, and still is to this day, some of the best tobacco that you can possibly get. We grow some extraordinary tobacco here in Nicaragua. But to caveat that, the American tobacco market is the tobacco market that basically dictates the world's tobacco supply.
Mm-hmm.
It's where the best tobacco is grown in the United States. We grow exceptional tobacco here. That's not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that brands that were using Cuban tobacco were effectively making a value-conscious product. And you make more money oftentimes selling. You make more money oftentimes selling Toyotas than you do Ferraris, right? So there's good money in that business. Now imagine 10% of the cigar market gets wiped away tomorrow, right? 10% is gone. Well, it's going to feel like there's this massive gap, right? So they supplemented that by going out and finding other cheap sources of foreign tobacco, right? So what ended up occurring was through the industrialization, full industrialization of the United States, if you look at the job market from 1950s to today, the amount of jobs of non-complex manufacturing is just gone. And most of those makers that were in Ybor City and that were in West Tampa were in Wisconsin and so on, and even Georgia. I mean, they were growing cigar tobacco all over the place. Most of those makers, basically ceased to exist. They moved on to other things. Look at Polina Cigars became CBS. Those people were very smart immigrants, oftentimes also American born. But a lot of them are foreign born. A lot of them were Italian and Germans, and they had to go do something else. And that said, the handful of people that were left behind, they weren't telling their story inaccurately. They were just, when the 90s boom happened, and from 1962, you had this massive loss of labor and capability as industrialization hit the United States. Going into the 90s, when the direction and commission era started, that is, hey, Mr. First Wave cigar maker, put it in this box, put this label on it. I know what people need for it to move off the shelf, right? As that started to happen, those cigar makers that were still around had mostly been from those that were trying to create as value conscious products as possible. And they were just genuinely telling their story of the Cuban exodus. Pre-Cuban exodus, most of those brands on the island did not have a substantial impact in American markets. It's just, there's not any evidence of that. Cuban tobacco was drugstore tobacco. And, I think it's a special tobacco. I think it's a unique tobacco, but to me, that tobacco doesn't exist today.
I've never heard it explained quite like how you are, and I appreciate that because you're laying it out really simply. And I've never heard it explained that way. So we'll definitely have you come back to dive more into that. This has been a very educational show.
Yeah, I don't even know why I was here.
Well, you added a couple of things.
I said like two sentences, yeah.
You were nice.
Yeah.
He's more for looks than anything.
Yeah.
Well, he's there to make me look good.
Yeah,
actually.
let's just say. And I'm succeeding at that.
But no, Daniel, thank you so much. This was I appreciate you being an open book. Like you
sure, absolutely.
You've answered. Yeah. But what I've really loved about your approach is I still don't know what your opinion is, but that's a good thing because you've laid out the facts for people watching, and leaving your opinion out of it oftentimes can be a better thing when you're trying to explain or even pull people over to your side of your train of thought by just laying it out the way you did. So I really appreciate this. This was incredibly informative.
Well, I think circling back to media, like this is what I'd love to see from media more. Is facts, less opinions, more facts. Mm-hmm. This is what the cigar is. This is what it's gonna. This is what it is, and here's the story behind it. Mm-hmm. And leave your opinion out of it.
Yeah.
Because your opinion of I smoke mostly Connecticut cigars. You may not like Connecticut's, so if you're reviewing a Connecticut, and I respect your reviews, I might go, ooh, I'm not gonna smoke that, but it doesn't hit your palate.
Correct.
So when I turned 40, I remember it's like. Shortly after I turned 40, I remember smoking a Maduro cigar, and I'll call it out. It was Warfighter's Maduro cigar, and I was testing the brand because I was going to represent it. And I was like, this thing is dog shit. There's no way, because I'm friends with these guys. There's no way these guys would actually try to sell this thing. It is terrible. So then I stopped for a second and I said, wait a minute. Is my palate affecting this? So I went and I picked up a brand, three other brands that I know very well and I've smoked a lot of, and I smoked their Maduro, and all of them were dog shit. Well, it wasn't the cigars. And if I'm a reviewer on here with my opinions, not realizing that my palate can shift and change, I would have just dogged on 4 brands of cigars.
And hurt sales potentially.
It potentially hurt sales or affected even just one mind. At the end of the day, my job as a rep is to find 4 people that add the cigar to the rotation. So if I'm representing Domain Cigars and we get it placed into Sean's shop up at Smoking Cave, my job is to find 4 people that consistently, not the only cigar they smoke, but they add it to their rotation. Mm-hmm. That's enough people for that brand to pay its rent on the shelf. just 4 people. Well, what if my review affected those 4 people away from Domain Cigars because my palate was shot?
Mm-mm.
That's not fair.
Mm-mm.
But what if I just sat down and said, hey, here's the story of Daniel Lance, the story of the family, the story of Nicaragua, here's what they're going through, here's some of the battles that they're in, here's these great cigars that they make. Man, give them a shot, support them, and let's just take care of these guys. You're going to love the cigars.
Mm-hmm.
Now a guy's willing to try it, he falls in love with it, and now I've got 10 guys, and it's more than paying its rent. So I would love to see media take a step back from... And I'm just going to call it out like how I see it, and people aren't going to like it, and I just don't really care. You're not that important. You're not that cool, right? Like, it's just, that's how I look at it. And it's not just in our industry, it's all these industries. Like, your opinion just really isn't that important. What I need is the factual information about what this is and entice me to want to go and try it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Your opinion just doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't like a guy, if for some reason you don't like Daniel Lance, which I don't know why you wouldn't like him, but if you don't like a guy, then just leave it out and don't put it on your stuff.
And that's the thing is, I always, if I didn't like, people would say, why don't you review? If I didn't like the cigar, I didn't post a review of it, because my job is kind of what this turned into, and I think I've done a pretty good job of representing the cigar world. But I've always felt my job is to bring people to all cigars. Acid is not my shtick, right? But I don't dog acid.
Oh.
And I don't.
That's what I was going to smoke next.
I not in here.
No,
But no, I'm just
no
kidding.
way.
But I don't. The reason why I don't shred flavored cigars, even though they're not my jam, is because flavored cigars are often what introduces people to cigars. So why would I dog the thing that the vast majority of first-time smokers smoke a flavored cigar? There's nothing wrong with that. And if the only thing you smoke is flavored cigars, that's great. You do.
There's something wrong with that.
Yeah, well, if that's what you like, that's what you like, you know. And I can absolutely respect that. And I've come to the realization, after even peeking behind Oz's curtain a little bit over the last 5 years, is my opinion on a cigar doesn't matter. I always start from the standpoint of, when people come up to me and go, I didn't taste this, or I didn't taste that, or this, that, the other, I go, you're missing the point. Did you like it? Well, yes. Then who the fuck cares if you tasted strawberry bubble gum? It doesn't matter. You might never eat, like, for instance, Travis Pappenheim.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Pappenheim was Altadis's training guru, all right, cigar training guru. He'll be the first to tell you, I've never tasted chocolate in a cigar. I've had so many people, how have you not tasted chocolate? He goes, I'm diabetic. I don't eat chocolate.
Well, you can
Yeah.
still have
So
natural
when I get-
cocoa.
But when I get a chocolatey profile, like if somebody says it tastes like milk chocolate, he goes, I don't know what that is. I haven't eaten chocolate in 30, 40 years. You know? So like, that's why I always tell people, when it comes to tasting anything, it's so subjective over what you did that day, what you ate that day, what you ate 5 minutes ago, what you eat regularly. You know, Charlie apparently
medication are
eats a
you
lot
on?
of peach cobbler.
And fatty tuna.
And fatty tuna. Like, I eat a lot of fatty tuna. I've never tasted fish in a cigar. And
Never.
quite frankly,
And if I did-
tasted fish in a cigar, I would call that
I'm out.
manufacturer and go, what the fuck am I tasting fish
Why'd
in your
you put
cigar
fish in your
for?"
cigar?
Right? Like, so, but the reality is we just need to be overall great stewards of this industry. And not as media, our job isn't to gotcha. You know, our job is to enhance and shed light on all the cigars that people haven't smoked or people are to smoke down the road. I wish more of the industry would care a whole lot fucking less
You know what my
about
top 2
other
cigars are?
people's cigar opinions.
I'll tell you my top 2 favorite cigars of all time. And this can put me on the spot because I represent 7 different cigar brands.
White Owl.
Nope. My top 2 cigars of all time are the free one and the one I haven't smoked yet. Those are my top 2
But I mean,
cigars.
that's
Because a
that's
free
true.
cigar always tastes better.
Always.
Always, right?
Always.
And the one I haven't smoked yet. I haven't smoked that. That's my favorite cigar because it's a new experience.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what this is about. Go out and experience new things. Don't come to me and tell me you only smoke Maduros. Because you know what? I bet you can find a Connecticut that you'd enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you anything we can find one.
Or if
and
we
it's probably
ask
going to be
you-
from Domain here pretty soon.
Or if we, yeah, right. Or if we ask you why you only smoke
You're welcome,
Maduro cigars, they go, because I like the dark wrapper. There's no valid reason
Yeah.
for it. Like, that's the
Yeah, you
other
just
side
had-
of it.
yeah.
But you know, to your point, I missed it. What were you talking about?
Me being Vanna Wells.
Yeah.
Oh,
But no, to your
the
point,
free
like,
one and the one I
the
haven't
one
smoked yet.
thing we didn't touch on today is the environment, right? Environment plays a role in how good everybody's been around that guy that just won't shut up about whatever his favorite fucking topic is. And you're like, dude, I'm trying to enjoy this cigar. Like,
I got
shut
a
up.
case in point on that. So I had a really cool opportunity when I was representing Espanola Cigars, and we're out for our sales meeting, and we had launched the knuckle sandwich, partnership with Guy Fieri and all that stuff, right? And I find myself in Guy Fieri's backyard of his Miami home. So we've been welcomed
Good place
into
to
his
find
home.
yourself.
I'm in his backyard. I'm on his patio. Guy Fieri's there with us. Eric Espinosa, Eric Jr., Jack Tarano, Hector Alfonso. Like, Hector does most of the blending for them. I'm there with the sales team. I'm in this environment in this beautiful weather, and it's like, this is an amazing place. Like, I always try to reflect back to when I was a simple consumer, wondering how am I ever going to find 100 cigars to fill my humidor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here I am finding myself in this situation. And Hector grabs a box of the unreleased Knuckle Sandwich Connecticut. And he brought it with him, and he cuts it open. It's not out in the market. Nobody's smoked it. And he opens it up, and I get to take a cigar out of that box. And I smoked that cigar in that situation. And he knows I like Connecticut, so he says, "What do you think, man?" It's like, this thing could have been a dog turd with a band on it, and it would have been fantastic. You could have put a quorum or an acid. No knock on you that smoke them. Not my cup of tea. But you could have put this band on any cigar, and it's fantastic because of this environment. I'm sitting here having this conversation with these people, reflecting on when I first started smoking cigars and being excited about getting to meet people, and now I'm a part of the family. I'm in this reflection moment. I said, what do I think? I think I need 5 more. And the reason I need 5 more is because, yes, it's excellent, but I need to smoke it after my dog bit me, after my wife yelled at me, when I just got in a traffic accident. You know what I mean? Like, I need to smoke them in these scenarios that are not great. Right? When I'm irritated and frustrated, that's when I need to smoke that cigar, because this environment, it can't be a bad cigar.
Yeah.
It just can't. Right?
And that's the experience part of smoking cigars.
Yeah.
That's really what we're all chasing. So here, Daniel, this has been one of the longest shows I've done, and has been one of the most informative shows I think I've ever done, to be honest with you. And again, it's because you left your opinion out. Not that I'm very interested in your opinion, but I appreciate the facts being laid out the way you did and the explanations that you gave. So, few lightning round questions here that I ask literally everybody that comes on the show before we end. Now,
Okay.
what is your favorite rapper? Now, you could give me musician if you want, even though I don't know any Nicaraguan
Okay, you have
rappers.
to clarify, because if you ask a cigar guy what his favorite rapper is,
That's what I do.
he's going to be like San Andreas or.
Well, that's what I'm clarifying. That's what I'm trying to clarify. So I asked the question. The very first few times it didn't commence it to me that people would give me musicians, but they gave me both. I don't know Nicaraguan rappers, but if you're into that, feel free to give us your best. But the main question is what's your favorite cigar rapper?
The cigar wrapper. I would say Connecticut broadly.
Connecticut broadly. What's your favorite cut?
Straight cut.
Straight cut.
Yeah.
Do you do the blender's pick or the
Cuban cut.
No.
Cuban cut?
No, and I encourage our people not to do it, actually,
Okay.
which I think is probably a little unusual. But
Yeah.
It's very
thing
unusual.
is, it restricts the flow a little bit.
Oh, you pinch it.
whenever-
That's why.
Whenever you pinch it open. So I always try to tell them you need to approach the cigar the same way the customer is. The customer is not going to pinch it open. You need to straight cut it. The customer's going to straight cut it if you really want to know how they're going to smoke it. Yeah.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
What is your favorite pairing?
Pairing?
Like a
It's not
drink.
really I mean, if sparkling water, I don't think is really a pairing, but I'm a big sparkling water person. But I would say coffee. I do a coffee and cigar every day. Yeah.
Yep. I'm a big black coffee or coffee, cream, and sugar.
No, black. Always black.
Always black coffee.
Not a pumpkin spice latte?
No.
They probably don't have a lot of pumpkin spice latte shops down there.
Pumpkin spice
actually-
latte, and then you're smoking the cigar and you
actually-
do the review. I smell pumpkin and spice and taste pumpkin.
I always figured that was like a U.S. thing.
No, we actually have pumpkin spice lattes down here.
Really? I figured pumpkin spice was much more of like a
Yeah,
Valley
the,
Girl thing.
yeah, like a Valley Girl thing for sure.
Yeah, no, the infection has spread.
We won't tariff that, so
Right.
Yeah. Maybe we should.
You're right. It's
And
probably really good.
And Bruce, yes, I did get more, by the way.
It's probably really good. What is your favorite size?
Favorite size? Cigar? No.
He's like 34 double D.
Well, again, let me preface. You can give me whatever size you want, but I'm specifically referring to a cigar.
Extra large.
So, yeah, I'm a little bit unusual on this, but I would say Robusto Gordo, which is 5x56, which is a very unusual favorite size for any cigar maker. But,
That is. I often get made fun of. I'm a Lancero guy.
yeah, well,
I'm
nobody's
not.
so yeah. So you're the one guy smoking all of them.
I'm the guy that
I'm the other one.
I am absolutely the guy that buys boxes. I think I have about 2 or 3 boxes of Lanceros in my humidor.
Wow, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I am a very big. I was a cigarette smoker for over 20 years. I think that plays a lot into it. That smaller ring gauge is just it fits better for me. It feels more comfortable. I do not smoke 60s and above. I feel like I should be paid to smoke above a 60.
I shut down my OnlyFans page, so I don't smoke 60s anymore.
That's why I got to end the show, because we got extra content for my OnlyFans page.
I mean,
Did you see that interview, Daniel?
A 60 is almost small these days, though. You know, with the size.
That's crazy.
It is, but I mean, you see it. What Aganorsa put out a 10 by 100.
I did just stop.
That's like that's obnoxious.
Just stop.
What if you were able to go to any point in time and have a cigar, a Dominion cigar or Domain cigar with someone? Who would it be, and which one would you bring?
Oh wow! I would probably say His Excellency, which is our Shaggy Bellicoso in Entropy, and I would probably smoke that with like Tesla or Einstein, one of the two of those.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. Something along those lines. Mostly because I would just want to be a fly on the wall there. Like, how do those guys actually tick? You know what I mean? Like, that's some interesting stuff going on there. But do you have another one?
Yes, my last question. So I love this question. I stole it from inside the actor's studio. I always give credit in case anybody ever goes, "You didn't create that question." But it's just a very introspective question. There's no wrong answer. Brandon's answered it. Everybody that's come through. When you meet your creator, whoever you believe it is, what do you want to hear?
Okay. Oh wow. This is inside the actor's studio?
This is the question. He ended the show, every show, with this question.
They ask actors this?
He asked, when you meet your creator, whoever it is.
I think probably that's a personal answer, but yeah, for the purposes of this conversation, I would ask him, why did the guy from inside the actor's studio ask those actors?
Well, it's an interesting. A lot of people will just say, "I want to hear I did good." That's it. Like there's no wrong answer to it. It just kind of makes you think about, what do you want to hear about your own life?
Yeah, maybe it would be good if it were a little bit comical, because it's kind of a serious question. Do I have a reservation?
That works.
Like going here, like, checking in.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no
or-
wrong answer.
You're
I don't
not on the
like-
list.
Yeah, like,
Oh crap.
Yeah,
right?
I don't want to hear like, are you looking for the bus?
Yeah.
When did I get here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so something along those lines, I guess.
No, that's great.
That's a heavy one.
It
Do,
is,
do you have
it
your
is.
ID?
Yeah.
No, I left it back with my body.
Yeah. Well, no, I thank you so much for having me on to see how far your podcast can go, how much attention span your listeners have. I mentioned one number I didn't qualify, which was the 10% of Cuban tobacco into the United States. That was a number by the Cuban Economic Council, and you can look up a report from them. They actually are a group in the United States that studies Cuba. So if you have any more questions about that information, your viewers can look that up. But as far as what I do every day, I do this. This is not a prop. This is an actual factory about me. So
background.
Yeah, I'm in Nicaragua right now. So hopefully the internet connection didn't chop up
No,
on me
you're
too
great.
much.
He got his donations for the props in the background of the good camera.
So, if you take an interest in Domain Cigars, you can find us all over. We don't have a store locator yet. We're working on that. But you can message us if you can't find them. But go into your local retailer and ask about Domain Cigars. We'd much appreciate it. So thanks so much for having me on.
You're welcome. And we got a question here. What is your Instagram page again? I just don't want to give it out wrong.
Cool. So Domain Cigars is the Instagram page for Domain. And then mine is Daniel C. Lance on Instagram.
And then everybody has also got to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah, Domain Cigars. I just subscribed, so I don't know why you guys haven't yet.
Like, share, and subscribe.
I
guys.
literally did it while we were doing this. So, and then Daniel's
Yeah.
going to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, following that. So,
And hopefully he subscribes to mine. We'll see.
yeah, that'd be great.
believe we already did. Yeah. But we've been so swamped lately. The next video we're working on is paper or plastic.
Yes.
We're going to be discussing the evolution of cigar molds over time, and so we've been talking a lot about all this federal stuff happening in the United States, but the real initiative of the channel is kind of more of that rare knowledge about cigar making is what we want to share.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on. You were able to explain things in a very great way. I've never heard that explanation of Cuban tobacco before, and that makes a lot of sense actually. So thank you so much for coming on. We'll have you back on next year to go a little further in. We'll leave Brandon away though.
Please,
But-
please. I'm worthless.
So
I have no place here.
from the bottom of my heart, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on. And until we see you all again, smoke what you like, smoke as much as you can, and have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Yep.